I would have waited 500 more years for you. 1,000 years. And if this was all the time we were allowed to have, the wait was worth it. Hi, and welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
Hi, and welcome to our part 1 finale of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas.
Woo!
Yay! Oh my god.
I'm
Part
so
1
excited.
finale. So much we're going to get into. This is a big chunk of a chapter, so we're going from chapters 66 to the end of 71.
Ooh, is it really only 5 chapters?
I know, it's only that, but also there's so much to unpack here because the couple chapters before this, the episodes that we did, were ramping up for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I hope you guys are all excited. I'm glad that you guys are going to go on this journey with us of the first part of. This is technically, again, like I said before, this was Sarah's going to be this end book. 3 was going to be it. Obviously, we know that not to be the case, but...
But this was supposed to be the finale.
Yes. So again, just for everybody, right at the beginning of this, we are explicit. We will cuss, especially during this one, because there is so much to go through. There's so much excitement. We're going to get fucking pumped.
Woo woo!
And again, even though there's not very much in this, we're also explicit and talk about the sexual context of all of these characters. So be very wary of little listening ears.
Cover them or remove them from the room.
Or let them, be that parent.
Or yeah. Let them grow up fast.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, this will be just the deep dive of these chapters. We're not going to talk about the end yet. This is just the part 1 ramp up finale. And yes, it's going to end right in the middle of it, but I do this because I love it.
And it is also a good place. Out of all of the content that we're going through, it's probably one of the best places to stop.
Yeah, literally the only place.
It's like a natural break in something that seems like it has no breaks.
Right. So let's just get right into it, shall we?
Ooh, I'm excited.
Previously on A Court of Wings and Ruin. So last time was a lot of battle sequences in terms of Elaine got kidnapped. Woe is me.
Woe is me. She didn't seem very concerned about it.
No, she did. Sorry. We're so much on the I hate Elaine track. It's so bad. Because I feel like the people who are...
We're 5 minutes in, we're already hating on her. Damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Cassian got hurt. Our babe, my babe. He got very gravely injured, so that wasn't great.
What a dumbass. How could he get injured and worry everyone around him?
Yeah, because, honestly, the main crux of what happened last time was, Feyre coming back from the Suriel's death, finding out that Cassian was gravely injured, but he's okay, technically. Yeah, he graced a big gold scar. Mor and Feyre got into a big old fight. We saw the return of Amren, and finally got to see that spice between Varian and Amren.
Finally. I mean, there were no reserves there.
Right. And then, of course, Elaine got captured, and very quickly, Feyre and Azriel went to go save her. But at the end of the Nefel philosophy, basically, was what we ended on. Azriel had both Briar and the human girl that she saved, and Elaine up in the skies, and Feyre had to fly herself. But guess Deus Machina comes in, Tamlin saves her out of nowhere, and helps her actually get up into the air with wind and everything.
A beginning of a redemption arc? We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. I was cautious. I wouldn't say that I was so pro Tamlin yet, but I will say that definitely gave him brownie points. But yeah,
he needs to work his way back.
Right. But yes, we ended. Azriel his wings got shredded up pretty good by those Naga hound creatures, and we ended with Nesta, Feyre, and Elaine all snuggled up in the bed together. But yeah, so we ended right there. So let's just start at the top of chapter 66. So yes, welcome. I love how it just starts out. It's like, welcome to the part 1 finale because Callias's army has finally arrived. Like, that's where it starts.
All the armies coming together.
Yeah, so everyone's technically together now. All the High Lords except for Tamlin and Baron, which we'll talk about them later because obviously with our section that we have done, we know that they come later, but also we think that they're pieces of shit right now.
Yeah, very much.
So yes, obviously Elaine is safe and rescued. We finally have everyone together. So as Feyre is in the bed with Nesta and Elaine, so Feyre stays up with Elaine and Nesta, and so she's kind of racking over, honestly, what just happened. She's like, they were so gung-ho that Tamlin betrayed them when he went back to Tyburn.
Mm-hmm.
They thought he betrayed them, but actually he went back to spy.
Yeah, which, how are we supposed to know that?
No, I will say when I read this the first time, I think I was going along with it, but when, especially reading it the second and third time, I was like, I never really thought he was actually betraying them.
No, but he was also very dumb about some things.
Yeah, so honestly, he was kind of like Jurian was. He was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
At that point, he had to kind of play like he was betraying them, when actually he wasn't. But with Tamlin betraying Hybern, his betrayal covered up Jurian's betrayal, so they still have him spying, which is a good asset. So they can't really talk to him because it's not like they can get anything to him.
Right, or get anything back. Like, he definitely would not risk that.
It's great that he's there, but also, like, kind of, at this point, it's whatever.
At least he's there. It's the thought that counts.
I love this idea of Nefel philosophy, but also the Nefel philosophy indeed, but if Tamlin hadn't sent her the wind, she probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, she probably would have fallen off the cliff or been dragged back by the Hound.
So that being said, I mean, I don't want to undermine her epic cool flying moment, okay? It was cool as shit. But also, if Tamlin didn't do that, and like if the events didn't occur like they did, she wouldn't have been. So she's trying to rack that through her brain about what does that mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, she doesn't even want to think about it.
Honestly, valid though.
It's not the first upfront thing in her mind, but it's in the back of ours for sure.
Yeah.
So she washes her, so she gets ready, and I kind of like how we haven't had a Feyre get ready scene in a while, and I like that writing style of just like so much shit just happened. Suriel died, the big battle that one big battle happened where they almost lost, and then now they're getting ready for the final one. And so she's legit getting herself ready, watching her face down, like getting ready to face what today's gonna bring. And I don't know why, but when I was making my notes, I really wanted to highlight on this because fucking same. Every day I go into work. I feel the same way.
Just, you gotta prepare for that battlefield.
Right. The battlefield of the corporate America.
Sounds very scary. I hope you survive.
Right. It also is very cute that Rhysand left her and her sister. Like, where did he go all night? I mean, I'm assuming he was just up with the High Lords and he was just doing plans and shit, but it was nice that he didn't see her all night.
He let her have the moment with her sisters.
Which, I don't know what this says about my level of romance, but like, especially when people come at me about these books in terms of like, oh, it's just fairy smut. And then I have to remind them that like, Rhysand's the type of male to let him and his sister, like, let his mate and his sisters have time and not want to fuck her at night.
Or just in general, a male who doesn't need to be with his mate 24/7.
Yes, that's such a, oh my god.
The security in that.
The being in a relationship but not being codependent. Dude,
that's a good way to put it.
The bane of everybody's existence in modern day dating. I'm not gonna
honestly.
lie. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm guilty of that too, but yes.
How do I be independent while also being with somebody?
Right.
Blurred lines, for sure.
Have your own likes, or you can have some similar likes, but like don't have everything be exactly the same, you know, that kind of thing. And be fine with not spending a night with your mate.
Right. I do like how when she's, you know, when she is getting ready, that she's thinking all these things, that she's monologuing. She's, yeah, how did Asriel manage to stay conscious? Dude. Like, he was flying with blood pouring out of his wings. Like, how the fuck? He's a beast.
He is.
So, like, Thesian is here healing him, so he has the OG healer, which, good for him.
That's good.
I will say the other I feel like this isn't as important, but dude, maybe I'm just jaded at this point about Elaine, but I hated how Feyre was like, she said something about, Elaine must have been starving, so we got her food.
What? She was gone for, I think we were going to say the same thing. She was gone for a couple hours.
She was gone for a couple hours. That bitch was not. Dude, she starved herself for 3 months and she was okay. Okay.
She was chained up for a couple hours in an enemy's camp. She must have been starving. Oh my god, my poor dear sister. Oh my god, I must feed her and make sure that she's okay.
God, I don't want to put that much hate out in the world, but I will say, did that also kind of jar you a little bit? I was like,
it's not hate, it's ridicule.
Well, it's more like, okay, I can understand if she'd been in the camp for weeks, right, and like she hadn't had any, like that level of, but dude, she was gone for the night. Come on.
Not even.
Yeah, not even. They went immediately.
Like, it was in the middle of the night when they discovered her absence, and then it was by dawn that they were flying off the cliff.
Right, so she wasn't bitch wasn't gone for that long. She wasn't starving. But
4 or 5 hours, probably.
But anyway, moving on.
The little details that we focus on.
Right, because then she also wants to get food for Amryn, but
that is smart.
Girl, the fact that Feyre even crossed her mind for a second, do you think she doesn't need any blood because she got some from Varian? I don't want to think about it. Honestly? 100%.
They definitely got that blood kink.
Do you think that Varian let her drink from him? I totally do.
I think so. I think so. Maybe it happened in the heat of the moment on accident, and then it's like, okay, cool.
Well, I will say in a lot of those if any of you have listened to or read vampire dramas, there's a level of like, or even some of the Fae other books that I'll read, if somebody bites somebody else, there's definitely like a pleasure aspect to it. Mm-hmm. Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Dude, we're on camera. I don't give a shit. Bite my neck, please.
Well, we already knew this from book 1. We already knew that from book 1. It's just coming back now.
There's gonna be so much times in this SJM journey that I'm just like, bite me, sure, whatever.
Honestly,
oh my God. But you know what I mean.
I understand exactly what you mean. Specifically if there is a wall involved, a tall, handsome Fae guy.
I hate you.
Who has to lean down to bite.
My God. Stop.
Maybe it helps if he's muscled and has some chest tattoos, maybe some Illyrian wings.
Okay, moving on. Moving on. So anyway, about the army. So I love how even in the war camp, there are lines for the court. They're fucking gerrymandered in the fucking army. Like, what? So because she walks up to Callias' army and she sees, the vast winter court, and like you can definitely tell the demarcation lines, and it's just so funny to me that there are lines like that
in a war camp.
You think that this would be one of those times where like everyone would be kind of dispersed between each other, but no, everybody's kind of stuck themselves.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, there's an extent where that makes sense. If it's like all of a sudden, Callias, take your army here, it'll be easier to rally them if they're all in one place.
I guess I didn't think about it like that.
Which makes sense, but like in terms of the camp living, I also understand why are they specifically staying in their court camps, if you will, rather than at least mingling and plotting, that kind of thing.
Oh, they probably do. They probably dude, it's a war camp. They intermingle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But so the best part about Callias' armies is that not only is it badass, but he has giants and furry animals, bro.
And he has polar bears. Right?
I like the fact that he has all these like winter-esque creatures, and then he has like my favorite thing that was during this description of the Winter Court army was that there were cute snow foxes holding messages on their backs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love white foxes. Arctic foxes are so cute.
Arctic foxes are my favorite fucking fox.
Honestly, just in general, my favorite animal overall is a red fox. But in general, if I'm to break it up more, definitely fox just in general is my absolute favorite animal. They're so cute and they can be so loud and chaotic.
I do love how Feyre says though, she's like, she didn't doubt that if she tried to talk to it, it'd talk back.
Getting some Narnia bullshit here.
Dude, we have brought up Narnia so many fucking times in these last few episodes.
Honestly, that's what it feels like.
It does. It really does. And especially with this, for sure.
Wait, does that make the King of Hybern the White Witch?
Oh god, and would Rhysand be Aslan?
That's kind of what it feels like.
Oh god.
But, or would Aslan be one of the creatures that are brought in?
Maybe, I don't know. So Feyre spies Vivian Moore and someone who looks like Viv's sister. So we don't get a name for her. She kind of looks like Viv's sister. And then Briar is amongst them. The human girl, all cleaned up and, bloodied away.
Wearing like the Winter Court leathers.
My first question was, I wonder why Moore gave Briar away. Before she explains it, like she'll obviously give a good explanation. I get it. Mm-hmm. Giving her away and not letting letting her be around battle-hardened Illyrians who could give a fuck about a female. I completely get that. But there's also a level that I'm just like, why specific? I feel like there's more to that, and I just don't really know why.
Yeah.
Why she's being given away to the Winter Court.
Right.
If any of you have any thoughts, please do, because
there's got to be something that we've just not been told yet.
I haven't grappled it. Why bring in this character? I mean, obviously having, Feyre save her. It's not SJM style to introduce this just random character and then to just send her off to the Winter Court and never to be heard from again. I'm like, obviously that's not the most important thing that's going on right now, but like in our very detail-oriented minds, that's like, dude, that's always in the back of my mind. But I love, as for Feyre's making her way up there, this very, I don't want to say tentative truce between her and Moore, but I don't know. There's sometimes with people and friends that they can't talk to each other until they kind of like talk through what I think it's a real testament to friendship, that even though there might be some sort of tension, you can still like talk about, hey, what happened here? Oh, you gave Briar to them. What happened? And then they can talk about the shit.
Right.
Yep. Winter Court has fuzzier animals. Of course, you'd rather be there for sure. I love how Moore says here that it was brave of Feyre for saving Briar because Moore says herself that she probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Especially for somebody who like thrives. I mean, Moore's part of the whole library with Rhysand thing. She's hell priestesses, come in and acclimate to society again. So especially that being said, then not doing that is very kind of shows Feyre's character a little bit.
Yeah.
We get the down low and everything. Azriel is fine. Thesean couldn't really work on the Illyrian wings because he doesn't specialize in those, because the Peregrini wings are from his court, so he can't really do bat wings really well.
Right. Although you would think that the wings, at least for the most part, would be similar, but I suppose in that sense, Azriel's wings, the actual membrane was shredded.
Is that a cool thing on Sarah's part in a weird way, even though Thesean's kind of like the quote-unquote king of his healing, that somehow the anatomy of the wings is something that he needs to know to heal, and so because he doesn't know it, that's why they have to send for Maja?
It is a good detail.
It makes sense, because if he was just a healer and blah blah blah, he could just like heal whatever and he didn't have to think about it. They're like, there's more of an intelligence to his healing than just, oh, I'm gonna put sparkly hands on you and everything's gonna be better. Like, he has to, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. Like,
I do, but that is a funny way of saying it. Like, I'm gonna put sparkly hands on you and everything will be better.
Sounds like a strip club experience. Like, that doesn't sound like a healing. Well, it could be a healing experience. I love how in my crack notes that I wrote, I'm like, Maja, yeah, we love that fucking old bitch. She's a goat.
We love her.
And I say bitch in a really good way. I love her so much. I also feel bad that she has to get sent all the way out here.
I know. But I admit I was not expecting her to be out there.
Right. But hey, everybody else is coming, so might as well add her to the mix. So obviously, Azriel's not going to be able to fly anytime soon, which is not great because they're literally going into the final battle. And Cass is their best warriors are wounded before their final battle. Great!
Probably Hybern's plan all along.
To take out, like, the two best Illyrian warriors.
Honestly, yeah.
Hey, Azriel didn't have to go save Elaine. He could have just let her go. We didn't have to save her.
He could have. Give her a few more hours in there. Then she'd really be starving.
We won't get over that. That was just such a stupid detail that I was just like, dude, that bitch wasn't starving. Dude, we both are, like, in the music world. There have probably been days where we haven't eaten and just been like, oh, we haven't eaten. Interesting. I'm about to pass out.
Honestly, yeah. That's usually... Honestly, that's what most of my days are like, unfortunately, because my eating habits are not super great. I mean, it's why I am always snacking during recordings.
Yeah, because
I forget to eat during the day.
And this is my only time that I can actually fucking remind her.
Yeah, that's true. But that's why I'm always snacking, in case you're ever wondering.
So obviously we know that now. And so Moore is not very sneakily, leading Feyre off into the woods, which if it was anybody else would be such a stranger danger, no, don't do that. But it's also, Moore is leading her away so that they can talk privately, because this is why you never leave things unspoken. Moore feared of what they left saying to each other, and then both her and Azriel, Feyre and Azriel, left, not knowing if they were ever going to see each other again. So here we go, this long-awaited, finally spilling the beans, we can finally talk about it, of why Moore is the way she is. Buckle up.
Finally, it's coming out. I'm excited.
And we have mixed feelings. Like, I think we both have mixed feelings about this. A lot of we agree on, on, and then also some of it we don't.
Right.
So let's get into it. So no more lies. No more lies between us.
Finally. Great.
The first thing she says, her voice breaking, "You were right about me. I don't love Azriel."
Imagine that.
Imagine not loving him, yeah.
I would have never guessed that she didn't love Azriel.
Do you think that's the first time she's saying it out loud?
Probably.
I think so. I think that's the first time she's actually vocalizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously
even
to
just to
another
herself.
person.
Yeah, even just to herself. I mean, yeah, obviously to another person, but definitely, I think even for herself, it might be the first time she's actually vocalizing. Like maybe she's like considered it, you know, or deep down she knew it, but she hadn't like deigned to think about it.
I will say when I first read this, I was like, I thought more did like Azriel, and then going on, I was like, I don't really know what's going on here. I don't really know an explanation, and I didn't really have a good one. So she doesn't love him in the way he wants. I mean, yeah, big shocker. She loves him like a brother, family. She could never love him the way that he loves her because, she prefers females.
Yeah, I remember when first reading it, I think I've mentioned it in some other, I think it was probably a mini episode.
Probably.
Early on, maybe first season, we talked about it, and I'm going to say it again here. When I first read this moment, it's like she pulled Feyre aside. I'm like, oh, confession time? Coming out story? Like, I got super excited. My little bi heart got excited.
I know. I'm letting you have your moment.
Even if Moore is not in my graces right now, just because of how she treats Azriel, I definitely will admit I'm proud of her for this coming out moment, and I understand how hard it is for her.
It's a step for sure, because I don't know, it's our first out. Out is a hard word, like, because
it's our first character that we're witnessing come out.
Yeah, because like all the others are already out and proud. And so,
they're just naturally there. They don't even talk about it.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this before, but we personally, and especially Liesl, because again, you are bi, I am not. But I can still appreciate the level of it not being such a big, oh my god, you're gay? It's just so natural in this world that, honestly, her coming out wouldn't really be a surprise to anyone.
Also, coming from a place where I myself came out, it's a very scary thing of not knowing if the people around you will accept that, regardless of if they're your best friends or that you've spent 500 years with them. There is that fear of, am I going to be accepted for this? Am I going to be told to repress this? Because even though, like, even in real life, me slightly getting on a soapbox here for a little bit, you know, there are some people out there who can't come out because of their situation that they're currently living in. And my heart goes out to them because I was lucky that my family accepted me coming out. My friends took a little bit of more time, and obviously this was before I met you.
Yeah, because I don't care.
Nah, you don't give a shit. Honestly, you are like the straightest, but also most ally person I've met.
I appreciate that.
My strongest ally. But I definitely did not have that in my friends for the longest time. But they were also willing to learn. So I was lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
But so in that sense, I completely understand where Moore's coming from. Just that fear of like, oh shit, I'm actually acknowledging this and I'm actually saying it to someone who I value as a friend.
You didn't have like outright hostility is what you're saying. Like, at least for
right.
most of the close people around you, which obviously in her situation, yes, the people who she would be around, i.e. the Hewn City family, would fucking disown her. I mean, they already have. And again,
they already have, but they would find even more ways to like mess up her life more than they've already made her miserable in certain parts of her life, but they would have done so even more, especially if she, you know, came out even earlier before everything. They would have been like, no, we're just going to ignore the fact that you like that because you don't have a choice or whatever.
Yeah, so let's get into the play-by-play here. We're getting excited.
I just needed to say that to preface this moment.
No, you're good. You're good. So obviously, no. I mean, I love how Feyre's first thing isn't even just, oh, you're gay. It's just, but Helion, you sleep with guys. That's kind of like what a straight answer would be. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just, well, what about Helion? I mean, obviously, even while Feyre says that, she's monologuing to herself, yeah, she didn't look like she really enjoyed it. Or like she felt terrible afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So I guess maybe you would be better at, I don't want to say explaining this, but like, so more physically is pleasured in both males and females, but is more romantically interested in women, emotionally.
I think you explained that pretty well. I mean, obviously every person in the community is different with their preferences. There's no direct things of like, if you consider yourself a lesbian, that doesn't mean that you can't be attracted to guys, or even if you're straight, doesn't mean you can't be attracted to another gender. It just depends on, you know, what your distinctive preferences are. So when she says she prefers females, like, that doesn't mean she absolutely hates guys. And it's just like, I have a number of friends who, you know, prefer sex with one gender, but prefer relationships with the other, or like a mixture of both, similar to more. So, but I think you explained that pretty well.
Oh, good. I'm glad I got a thumbs up from that. It's obviously, sorry, I was going to say something before that. Everything in the community is so gray now at this point. Like, you do you and I do me, bro. And we do each other if we want.
That too.
We can do each other if we want, if we feel it. But also, like, you know, so that's my viewpoint on everything, is like, you do you, as long as you're being safe and, you know, you're not, like, being rude to anybody. Like, dude, even if you were, where am I to fucking come in and just be just like, you're being rude to this person? Though I mean, we will be judging more here in a second. But anyway,
I mean, yeah, we will be judging. But I think another just quick thing I'll say is, like, some people don't understand that also sexuality is fluid.
Yeah.
Like, even if you prefer one gender this time or whatever, it can easily change, or how you prefer something can change or whatever. You know, me being bi, yeah, I like guys and girls. It just really depends on my, like, situation that I'm in. Like, growing up, I grew up in a very small, I guess almost like a village at this point with how small it was. And, you know, the people in my grade were basically cousins, sisters, brothers, cousins, at least. God. Like, that's like basically what it felt like. So dating wasn't really an option. And so at the time, you know, I leaned more towards the women, because it's like there were at least more of them, more to choose from.
Yeah.
And then, you know, going off to college, the men there were a bit more attractive, even though it was a pretty gay school.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So, but maybe that was because, anyway, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's fluid depending thing. Like, I could prefer one gender one day or one gender the other. So I get it.
But obviously in a place where more grew up, and I love how we get this. I love how we have the pretense of the hewn city. We know what the hewn city's like, where it grew up with marriages and bloodlines, and you need to make sure that you have a kid. Like, marriage was not for love. Marriage was literally for breeding and having the most powerful bloodlines. A good reason to be in the closet, bro. Like, a really good reason.
Honestly, the closet seems a lot safer than out there.
Because Moore was, again, if we remember back in the second book, Moore was the most powerful woman. Probably even, not even just woman, but most powerful person down there. So they were looking for her to get a good match. And I like how she says it wasn't the idea of marrying Eris that scared her. It was the idea of being used for offspring and giving up the one part of her that she didn't want to give away.
Right.
Obviously, with being, if she wants to be with a woman and that's who she wants to be her mate with, she doesn't want to have children. It'll just be her and that other woman. It's giving that up to Eris. It wasn't the fact that he was powerful, dude. She could have snuffed him out anytime. But it was that part that really,
which having her choice taken away.
Yes. Which makes so much more sense of why she sleeps with Cassian. Because it would mean as little to him in the long run as it would to her. But it would also give her her freedom. Because, yeah, if she told her dad, like, and went up to him and was, yeah, Dad, I'm gay. I don't want to marry Eris. He would have...
It's laughable how Kier would definitely react.
The fact that he would have tied her to the bed. Like, so the act of being sullied meant that she would just get disowned, right? Like, you know, you're a whore, blah, blah, blah. It was the idea that if she was honest about who she was, that he wouldn't care even if she was a virgin. He would tie her to the bed for Eris to do what he wanted. Which, okay, I'm gonna say this. I don't think Eris would let that happen.
He wouldn't take advantage of her.
I don't think he would have let it go that far. And you can totally disagree with me, because at this point, Eris seems like a fucking asshole. But also, I feel like he's gray. So I don't think he would have let it go that far. But
considering how much he cares for the Lady of Autumn, his mother, like,
yeah,
I feel like she would have raised him, like, despite Baron's attempts to corrupt. Like, she would have made sure that her son at least knew not to do that to a female.
Well, and we don't know behind the scenes if he helps his mom.
That's my theory, personally.
Like, maybe behind the scenes he does help his mom more than we know. We don't know.
My theory is that while Eris is definitely a jerk. Like, he's a complete dick, asshole, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to females, he does have a level of respect for them.
Yeah.
And he would not. I agree. He would not let it get that far. If he was shoved in a room with more tied to a bed, he may not untie her, but he certainly wouldn't take advantage of her.
Yes. So obviously she didn't choose Asriel because she knew how he looked to her, and it wouldn't be fair to sleep with him knowing that it would mean nothing to her, because it wouldn't mean nothing to him. But in doing so, in sleeping with Cassian, Asriel thought she deemed him unworthy.
No, baby.
No!
No, baby.
I understand where he's coming from, though, because I feel this fucking same way. Like, just be like, okay, so no, I wasn't worth sleeping with. But obviously she hasn't fucking explained any of this, so he wouldn't know.
But also, no.
So then we go to Asriel finding her nailed and saving her. I want to see this scene so bad. I want to have like a chapter or so just about this just scene of Asriel finding her. I feel like, because what she says to Feyre is that he started to confess. I totally think he was flubbing it up hard. He's like, more so, I really want to like, I feel like that's how he was sounding.
Probably a lot of stuttering and stammering, and she's just like, and just walked away.
Dude, that was the worst thing. She didn't say anything. She was gonna explain everything to him then and there, but as soon as he started talking to her, she walked away and
she could have rejected him. Even if she couldn't explain it, she could have just like, sorry, no, or even just, she could have just said no and then walked away. Like, yeah, it would have fucking hurt.
Girl, hold up. As somebody who has been rejected constantly, I fucking hate this idea of being let down easy.
Yeah.
I hate that. I would rather be told in the middle of confessing by some asshole dude that he would rather, if I'm using an extreme example, that it was the ugliest person, that he wouldn't date me ever, and then left. The unknown is so much worse than being told it straight up. Because then her walking away, how is he going to respond to that? Was she too overwhelmed? Does she really like him? It's left in this ambiguous space where he doesn't even know what's going on.
Right. And he's left to literally his own insecurities.
I was following her whole monologue up until this point. And again, I'm straying this was the straight ally mindset. I'm glad for her speaking up to Feyre about this honestly, but also I feel like this isn't the person she should be telling this to.
I mean, on Moore's side, like, sometimes I understand you need to tell one person first before you can figure out how to say it.
Yes.
Okay, I told this person and I totally fucked it up, so now I know what not to say. Or on the other hand, okay, that works. I explained it really well, actually, so I'm going to say that again. But most of all, I think the fact that Feyre's just like, interesting, more willing to listen, it helps get over that mental block of like, oh, she didn't reject me. She doesn't hate me. So at least that gives me a little bit more confidence.
I don't necessarily hate her, but it's very disappointing.
It is.
So again, if we're chugging along before we actually get into our thoughts about this, she never explained to anybody else and keeps sleeping with men to hide it.
Yeah.
So that nobody suspects.
And keeps getting disappointed by these men.
Even if Asriel does suspect, which she kind of thinks so, but like he also gets very confused when she brings a guy home. Rita's place, that is the bar that they always go to, Rita is a lesbian, the woman who owns the bar.
Gay bar.
A secret underground gay bar, I guess?
Of course it would be Valaris that has that. It's a city. Of course they gotta have some clubs.
For sure. It makes so much sense why she goes there all the time. It totally does.
Although when she brings like the others to Rita's.
It's like, so then she goes into, obviously what Moore thinks about her family. Like, obviously when Kier calls her a whore and they talk about how she looks and that, she sullied herself with an Illyrian bastard, that doesn't mean anything to her because she did that for the true reason. So
and
obviously
she chose to do it.
That isn't her. She knows she's not a whore. She knows that she's not like, what they say, but it's the idea that if her family ever found out, because again, in Rhysand's court, she is the person in between, or I would say the emissary of sorts, but she is the go-between of the Hewn City and the Court of Dreams. If they ever found out, they would come at her with everything they have, and the idea that they would take away that something was wholly hers. So just with all that being said, it's the idea that more coming out, or not even just, obviously she would never want to come out to her parents, but even if they ever did find out through the grapevine, that would never be hers anymore.
Right.
And she wouldn't want to risk it to get out. So that's that's why she hasn't told anybody.
Right. Even just one person, even if it was a trusted friend, even one person, like, who accidentally mentions it or makes a comment, or if someone happens to overhear the conversation, that kind of thing.
Or maybe even her, like, seeing her with a rando and then it's somehow getting to here.
Right. Like, there's so many, like, fearful possibilities. Catastrophizing, for sure.
So this is where, though, like, it definitely pulled at my heartstrings for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes into this long story about during the First War, she took her first ever woman lover. And so Moore was in the, with Miriam and Draken's Legion for a long time. By herself, actually. The inner circle wasn't really there with her, and nobody from home was.
Mm-hmm.
Nefel and her lover, we don't get a name for her lover, but...
Sad.
They dared Moore to try because they were so out and open and safe that she's like, I want to be like that.
Those are good friends.
The idea that it was safe from everybody else, that she could be in the war camp and be just like Rhysand and Feyre, and people would know about it and not judge her. It was one of the human queens. Of course it was.
Of course it was. You know, Moore does have a bit of a certain taste, it seems.
Makes so much sense about why she wanted to see the queens in the second book.
Why she was looking for her former friends, aka her former lover.
Oh my, it's so sad. Anyway, we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. But her name was Andromache. Another example of a fae to human relationship that, again, at the beginning of this book series, it was like, fae and humans don't mix. And then...
It's like, really? I mean, it kind of seems like they mostly mix.
They do. It's the idea of the forbidden romance, bro. Even the fae can't get away from that. So, obviously, when they were together for the whole wartime, and here's where the sadness comes in. So I went home after the last battle. I realized it was a mistake, that I didn't care if I only had 60 more years with her. They probably had some big end of the relationship fight and was like, we can't be together, you're gonna die, I'm not gonna, but the problem was they didn't know the wall was gonna go up. And so the wall goes up and Moore can't get across.
And probably at the time, since it was just fresh going up, it didn't have the holes in the wall.
It didn't. So it took Moore 3 years to find.
Well, a lot can happen in 3 years, I suppose. Especially, it seems, for humans who, how was it said before? Humans breed rather quickly.
But it's also, it was during wartime and they had to establish their bloodlines. It was in that way where it makes sense why this happened in a weird way. Because also, if she was going to be queen, they probably wouldn't have accepted a lesbian queen because they wanted somebody who would pass on. I wonder if Andromache had, a heretic of lovers or something, on the side for, women or something. I don't know.
Honestly, probably. I would think so, maybe. But then again, at the same time, I feel like no human woman would really compare to Moore in that sense. I mean, we don't know Andromache, but, like, you would think, you're dating this really hot female high fae warrior. That's kind of similar to, people trying to top the Illyrian males.
I know. There's no comparison.
Yeah. But, like, I also understand the, wartime. Like, I do. It makes me wonder how long Andromache waited for Moore.
Oh, that's sad.
Before she either decided to, or at least in my theory, was more pressured into marrying a male so that she could have heirs.
Well, at least had to be 18 months because she had 2 children by the time Moore found her. So at least had to be before that.
A year and a half, yeah.
So obviously Moore eventually sees her and she's married off to a man with 2 children. And obviously Moore doesn't actually go inside the castle. Doesn't even see her again, doesn't say goodbye, just watches and leaves. Totally gives me the vibe though that she kept going over there and watched over her every now and then. It totally gave me the vibe though that Moore kept checking in on her because she goes then on to say that she ended up having 5 children and died of old age.
Yeah, she visited at 2 children and then kept saying like, oh, there's another child.
That's like the fucked up thing about the immortality thing though in these books, that it always is weird to think about because obviously it's never something we're ever going to have to deal with. But the idea of that watching the person that you love just slowly over time just age and die, especially when you know you could never be with them, is a fucked up mindset.
Especially knowing like when you actually watch them grow old and die.
And that you wish it could have been you growing old and dying with them, but you're not.
Mhm.
So, God, fucked up. So not only was that fucked up, but the golden-haired queen was her descendant, the one who died the most tragically out of everybody.
In Moore's own city.
Oh my God, it was so bad.
And probably didn't have any children, so that's the end of that bloodline.
Oh my God, even if she did, like, even if they had, like, other siblings or something.
Yeah,
Maybe she had other siblings, but I don't know. But Moore mourned Andromache for many, many years. Didn't have any lovers of any kind. And if, you know, eventually when she did start getting lovers again, they were always in secret.
Right.
And I kind of like that when she talks about these lovers that she had, that they never wanted to be with her because they were always secret and wanted to be out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
Was it such a thing that, like, I mean, it's happening more in a lot of the gay stories that are coming out as of recently. That was such like a revolutionary thing to me, because it was always usually the opposite in those stories, where it's they both wanted to keep it hidden, and then like it just eventually came out. Versus I really like the idea of the one person who isn't the big hot mysterious Moore being like, no, I'm not gonna be with your hot ass because I want to be out.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
sucks for Moore in the moment, but yeah.
Yeah, because I understand. I can sympathize. I do not understand, but I can sympathize. I it's so interesting then when she, as we move into the conversation, and she's like, even if I did sleep with Azrael one time, just to try, first of all, good, because the idea of just saying like, oh, I'm gonna try, and let's see what's, you know, throw the piece of spaghetti on the wall and see if it'll fucking stick. Mentality is not something that Azrael would see it as a culmination of all those years, and he'd want it to be perfect, and then she at the end of it would just be like, eh.
Like, okay, I guess I'll see you for training tomorrow or whatever.
Because that, honestly, yes, don't do that.
Not to him, not to that.
Do not sleep with somebody if you don't want to sleep with them.
Unless, like, you both go into it knowing it's a fling.
Yes. Or that you don't know if, like, you guys will be together afterwards. I'm not sure I can give my entire heart to him that way. Because I do appreciate, though, even though we kind of have qualms about her not telling Azrael for 500 years, but the idea that she says that she wants somebody who is deserving of him, because she knows that she's not deserving of him.
Which is at least good. That quells a little bit of my pain for Azrael.
But also, tell him, bish.
Honestly, tell him. He deserves to know. 500 years later, he deserves to fucking know.
He's the one out of anybody that you should probably tell this to. But honestly, he's probably going to be the last person to know.
Poor baby.
Honestly, that's what happened to all of them, though, isn't it? Feyre was the last to know that she was mates with Rhysand.
That's true, that's true.
So, God. So this really long you know, I'm glad we got it, but again, I do have qualms about, there was a level of understanding with the story, but also definitely made me tear up at moments, but also, again, snaps all around for SJM, making this seemingly one of the most heart-wrenching scenes Moore has, but also semi on the other end being like, why? Like... A testament to a good writer to have me feeling like both of those emotions at one time.
Also relatable. Why?
Like, just why? Tell him. I do want to know more about this gift of truth that Moore says, because like one of the last things that she says is, my gift is truth, and yet I've been living a lie my entire existence. What does that actually mean? Like,
I don't know. Like, that
really
sounds like one of those deep, like, cryptic truths or whatever. Like, it's a deep quote. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what do you mean by truth is your gift?
Like, you can tell that people are telling the truth? Do you have to tell the truth?
Clearly not. Can
you wrench it out of people? Can you torture people out of it? I don't know. I want to know more about that for sure. Feyre is going to keep this a secret for now, even from Rhys, until Moore is ready. I mean, I will say that's common courtesy. Like, if I have somebody telling me something kind of in confidence, it is not my fucking job. Even if it was my mate, husband, boyfriend, whatever. Why would I tell that to him? First of all, it's none of his business. Number two, like, it's not my story to share.
Right. And I've seen way too many situations of someone confides in someone and then, well, specifically, actually, I had used to be a friend, now more of an acquaintance, who ended up, she came out as gay. And the thing is, she didn't come out to her parents yet. She came out to literally everyone else, all of her friends and stuff, but she didn't come out to her parents because they were very prejudiced. But then she had a friend of her who made a comment about it of, hey, have you called that girl yet?
Oh my God.
And and her parents heard it, and unfortunately one of them ended up disowning her for it.
Good God.
The other one, I'm not sure what ended up happening with the other one. I can't remember if it was the mother or father, but it did not end well. She ended up moving out very young.
Good fucking lessons to learn. Don't put your nose in other people's business. Like, and also be fucking aware.
And at least from what I heard, it was a very offhanded comment of just like, yeah, have you called this girl yet?
Maybe I'm just too hyper aware that shit, but I'm like, no, I know who not to say stuff in front of, for sure.
Not unless, like, you know for sure whether they're out or not.
Yeah.
Or just in general, common courtesy, if you've given permission to talk about it.
I understand how Feyre says that she doesn't think that Moore is a terrible person for stringing him along, but all of them along, because Cassian included, he got kind of fucking just wrangled into that mess too.
Yeah.
But I did for sure. And maybe that's me, but like, no, that's terrible.
Poor Cassian, just being made to be a buffer.
Not the most horrible thing that anybody's ever done, but also I'm not going to condone her for it. Just like, oh my God, yeah, it's all fine. No,
it's not all fine. We don't hate you, but it's not all fine. You got some things to fix.
You need to work on yourself, dude. Have you ever tried therapy? Like, you need to go. Yeah. Didn't we ask that before?
I think we talked about it. Honestly, Moore should like go to Madja, and then like she can just be like, get your shit together, girl.
Honestly, yeah, dude, Madja needs, yeah, totally. No, but I will, yes. It's a tough situation, but 500 years is a long time.
Yeah.
My favorite part is the end of this, because again, we have to keep going, because there's a lot of stuff to go on, but like...
I know, I keep going on a tangent when it comes to this.
I love how Feyre does stick up for the fact that she kind of does fight back a little bit on this, because Moore says, I should tell him, I need to tell him, the potential fallout, I like things the way they are, but if I can't really be me, things are good enough, Feyre says. I don't think you should settle for good enough. Snaps all around, dude. You should never settle for good enough. Just because that is somebody so stuck in their ways that like they're not ready for, they can't do change.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's good for you, but also that's not good for the other people involved.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for them. If you have to think about it like that, think about it like that.
Yeah.
So,
amen.
Long story short, she should tell Azriel, but obviously at the end of this wartime, I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Today or tomorrow. So future question mark?
Hopefully he deserves it. Honestly, she deserves it too.
Honestly, I feel like this last time he figured it out.
Maybe.
And I also think he's doting on Elaine, so he's getting distracted. So
yeah.
Massive eye roll. Anyway, the idea of Feyre playing matchmaker once again is kind of funny.
Yeah, honestly.
But yeah, so as we further along in the story, Amryn has secluded herself into one of the war tents, and she has even warded herself against everyone, even Varian. She is secluded as... Yeah, poor guy.
He doesn't get sex for a couple nights.
She'll make it up to him.
True.
So obviously she's combing over the book where the Suriel told Feyre to look for the key, I guess, to stopping Hybern. I love how, like, Feyre does try to get past Amryn's words, because she's like, come on, we gotta go get fucking Bryaxis.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, but I guess things are gonna go to shit now. It's like, okay, great. So everybody goes to the war tent. Everyone goes to the big war tent.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's not too much to read, but I will say, like, going from talking about Moore's monologue to then going into war again, I'm like, oh my, like...
Wow. It's like, oh yeah, they were still in the war camp, just chatting away.
So the Hybern camp is no longer where it was last night. They picked up camp and moved. And they shifted directions, and they're now going due east.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not what they expected him to do. But I love how it also, like, so he slowly, subtly put in there that during Feyre's monologue, when she's looking at everybody, that everybody was surprised at Tamlin changing sides. I was not. I legit was not. But I can get why they thought that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, he is kind of throwing everyone for a loop.
For sure. Is it kind of cool that Helian's leading this meeting as well? I'm still gonna go with the fact that he's the oldest among them, and so that's just his job.
That does make sense. Probably has a lot of the knowledge as well.
Most war experience as well.
Yeah.
Because he was actually an adult the last time the last war happened.
Mm-hmm. I do have to keep reminding myself that even though we're assuming him as the oldest, he is also not the longest standing High Lord, though.
No.
Which I gotta keep reminding myself, which in a way, I mean, it kind of feels similar to Tamlin in that sense of he was someone else before he became High Lord. I mean, obviously it seems like for the most part, a lot of the High Lords were, at least from what we've heard, but like specifically, you know, he only became High Lord in the 50 years of Amarantha's rule.
Helian definitely did it better.
Yeah. Makes me think he was probably a warrior scholar before.
I think so. So Hybern sent the human queens back to the continent until they get over there. So basically what's happening is they're setting up for their siege of continent while they destroy Prithian now.
Yeah.
So they're waiting for that host to like get set up over there. During this whole interaction, at least like guys who are kind of problematic are behaving. Kier's behaving, Devlin's behaving, like nobody's speaking out of line. I guess in a way, they know their place in a time of importance. Is that a silver lining? I don't know. Like, it's just a random good thing, is all I'm trying to say. We're looking for positives, all right? They're trying to, the High Lords are trying to rack their brain around why the king is moving the way he's moving. And it wasn't until Feyre speaks up and says he doesn't have the missing piece of the cauldron still. So it's a lot of war talk. They're trying to chase each other. They're trying to stretch them thin. Hybern is delaying the conflict. Why? They're trying to figure out.
Tire him out.
So then Rhys asks Cassian, like, what would you do if, you were him? What would your thought process be? Basically, what Cassian and the other rest of the High Lords figure out, very men talking to men, and it's kind of hot. I'm a very powerful, strong, I would be probably one of the warrior women as well, but also just a bunch of hot guys, like, talking about wars.
Like, you can be a warrior, a female warrior, and still be attracted to generals.
That's also just the straight nature. If your little by heart, if it was just a bunch of women talking strategy as well, you'd be like, yeah, pot.
I wouldn't really be able to follow much, but I'd be like, okay.
So again, so they find out that there's a massive river that spans mostly into the Spring Court. So if you look back at the map, there's actually a river there. So Hybern is on the one side near the, like on the human part of the territory, whilst they are on the other side because again, they got pushed up, remember, for a while. And so they slowly made their way down. But the thing is, they would have to cross the river. And the thing is, if they wasted time going around it, then it would take them too long and they wouldn't make it there in time to save any of the humans. But if they winnow across, then they'd be tired out and just as likely to die that way. It's a lose-lose situation. The king wanted them exhausted themselves, winnowing armies around, so that when they finally crossed the river and made it to him, they'd be exhausted magically, physically, everything, and they would just enter the human lands with no resistance.
Wipe out all of Prithian's armies. Simple.
Holy shit. And none of them saw this. None of them saw this.
Which I very much dislike, very strongly dislike the king. But I gotta hand it to him. He knows how to war.
He knows how to war.
Yeah.
Great.
Just war.
And I love what Nesta says here. Because I think, Callias asked, he's like, why now? Why he could have done that from the start. Because we insulted him. Me and my sisters.
Aw, my sisters.
She's actually owning up that she has sisters.
And even calling them like my sisters.
That she has two sisters, actually.
Yeah, two. Not just Elaine.
It's so funny because I love how Nesta says that in a very badass tone and everybody looks towards her. And Elaine is like, sorry. Every time she speaks now, I just kind of eye roll. But anyway, she's like, they would do that?
Clearly, she has no idea what's happening. Also, just imagine like the king of just like, okay, so that was great. I'm pissed off. Let's go attack the humans. I was going to let them live and then enslave them, but like, let's just go kill them.
I do love the progression here of the talking back and forth because Feyre's, Nesta stole from the cauldron. I killed his priestess and killed his nephew and niece, by the way. Let's not forget about that.
Right.
I feel like he was more pissed about his nephew and niece, honestly, than Ianthe.
Honestly, yeah.
Unless we're going with the theory that he slept with her, but yeah, whatever.
But even then, if he slept with her, then he's done with her.
Yeah. And then, of course, stealing Elaine back was like the last insult. They literally went in there unfucking provoked and they came out alive. That pissed him off probably to no end.
Yeah.
I love Callias, though. He's like, you're seriously thinking he'd go crazy over 3 women? And it's like, yes, he would.
He would. Especially if 2 of them, in a way, well, one of them specifically stole from his cauldron. One of them has invaded his territory twice now, technically, if you count camp and back in Hybern, and got away, like, unscathed. And then the other one is being more objective. The other one somehow snuck into his camp, just appearing before the cauldron.
I think he, like, Feyre pisses him off more, and I feel like he's fascinated by Nesta and scared of her, but also he's, like, mad at Feyre specifically. Not only, because she can get through his wards like nothing, no matter how many times he bulks them up or changes. But that's just because her power is so badass. So, like, there's nothing really he can do.
But it pisses him off.
Yeah. He's using the one thing that will make them show up. The idea of the threat against the humans, like, he is trying to wipe out that southern part of Prithian and just fucking shred through it. And I kind of like how Rhys steps up here and says, Rhys monologues again, and basically what he says is that stealing, the prioritizing of getting Elaine out, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, he's right that it proves that the Archeron sisters hold sway here.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Imagine if it was just any other Grunt person. They probably wouldn't give a shit.
No.
It's the idea that it was her and not, whether you could say that it was her powers or that's just like, obviously they cared enough about her. So Rhys is like, they know that they care about the humans and that they will try to winnow as many people out before Hybern gets there, knowing that they'll go on the battlefield tomorrow, drain, and still fight. I love how, who was it, Helium? I'd say he's assuming quite a lot about how much we care for humans. Tarquin's like, so we're not going to? I love what Rhys says here. It's a new world, and we must decide how we are going to end this old one and begin it anew.
Snaps.
So basically he's saying, we're going to be outnumbered, we're going to be exhausted, but the wall is down, it's a new world, we have to decide how we're going to start this. Are we going to let the humans die and suffer alone, or are we going to try our damnedest to try to get as many out as possible? Because they're all a people. They're all people under, but potentially under the threat of Hybern's rule. At that point, they're not Fae and humans anymore, they're just beings.
They're living beings that are potentially being attacked.
And I love that. It's like, how will we act as one people?
Yes.
And then I love Helion. First, honestly, love him to death. We'll die together then. And then Cassian says, staring at Nesta, of course, if I end my life defending those who need it most, then I will consider it a death well spent.
Cassian.
Stop, babe. I love
That's too sweet.
Dude, I love how even Devlin was nodding his agreement. I'm like, where the fuck is that coming from?
Where did he come from?
You gotta give it to the Illyrians. That is their one thing. Protect. Their views on women, we'll just glance over that for a hot second.
But at the same time, even if their views on women are backwards, they'll still protect the women.
Yes. They just
And
think
the
they're
children.
little women who have to be protected.
Yeah, that's true.
So the other High Lords agree that they plan to evacuate as many humans into Adriata as they can, with Cressida overseeing them. Can I just say, fucking God, not only, dude, Tarquin is being such a good man. Not only did he get the evacuated people from the Spring Court back when they were at the High Lords meeting, now he's also just getting a bunch of fucking humans in Adriata. Give him a raise. Give him a raise if you pay him.
And putting a woman in charge.
Cressida for sure. I mean, she is the princess of Adriata. That is her city. And Varian's not gonna leave because Amren's at the battlefield. There's no way he would have left.
No.
I think Callias was the only one during that who was kind of questioning it.
Yeah.
Callias says, we'll need all the strength we have to fight Hybern, wasting it on winnowing humans, and then Feyre pauses him. It is no waste. One life may change the world. Where would you all be if someone had deemed saving my life to be a waste of time?
Stuck under the mountain.
I love in fantasy books, and maybe this is my own childhood trauma. I don't know. Probably. The idea that one person could do so much is so powerful. And I feel like people are lacking that a lot in society. I know that there's a lot of, I don't want to say oppressive and shitty things going on in the world, but I think that that's something wholly I still believe in. If you, I don't want to say do you, but if you are your best self and are being yourself every day and believe that in yourself, good things will come.
Even just a simple act of trying, whether that's not trying something new or trying something that scares you, or even just doing one thing over and over that you're good at, whatever. Maybe, I don't know. My analogy kind of got off the rails there for a minute, but even just doing one little thing, you don't know what kind of effects that would have.
I've had so many experiences that I could, say in a live stream or something about, but just being kind to somebody on the road and realizing, they came back to me a week later and said, you talking to me really helped me through this, and, your kindness really helped me that day. That makes me feel like, in those moments I could die happy, and that, I wouldn't say in a morbid way, but knowing that I made an impact on one person, which is why I'm a fucking performer, dude. It makes so much sense. Even making one person have like some sort of emotion in a shared space is lovely to me. So good on SJM for promoting these very good life lessons. I feel like if more people believed that about themselves, they would think more happy thoughts, because
if more people believed in general,
nobody's life is a wasted time. Okay, everybody is worth seeing. Again, there's limits to some things, like the real vile people. Like, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about the everyday Joe Schmo. You are not a waste of time. You are not a waste of space. You deserve to be saved by Rhysand in the middle of the night. Like, is all I'm trying to say.
Even if he scares the shit out of you and forces you out of your home to save your life, you deserve that.
Right. Then, obviously, the queen herself, Amryn, strides into the war camp. And I love her so much. It's like, I hope you all voted to face Hybern in battle.
Mm-hmm.
Amryn throwing the book onto the fucking table. We need to get to the cauldron, girl. All of us. And she knew, didn't mean the High Lords, meant Feyre and her sisters. Not only did Amryn find a spell, but found a way to stop the entire damn army.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go!
Yay!
Finally, dude, the Surreal's last dying words, man. I'm so happy that they figured that out.
The Surreal.
Amryn combed through that book so much. How the fuck did she miss that? But whatever. Maybe she didn't look at the end. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Or if it was like a literal thing of, I think one of the first times I was reading through that section, you know, when it's like put together the penultimate pages or something, it's like literally put them together. You know, kind of like those like paper thing maps of like you line them up in the light and they make the answer.
Oh, totally
like,
makes
I was thinking like a literal thing.
Gives me National Treasure vibes.
Yes, very much.
So it honestly, this made sense. Alone, the cauldron almost killed Feyre to try to nullify it. But together, with all four of them, they could have a chance to nullify it without them all dying. And then they would use the cauldron to wipe the Hybern off the map, because they would kind of be nullifying the person who used it. So they'd be nullifying King's own connection to it. And so it would like transfer to them. So the terrible part of this, though, is that, I mean, again, as they're going to be winnowing people away, this battle is just a distraction. This whole final battle is them using the last dregs of whatever they have for the distraction for the girls to wait until Hybern is fully distracted to go and nullify the cauldron.
My heart goes out to those soldiers, though, of just being told, like, hey, you're just a distraction right now.
Which fucking sucks, but at least, you know, they're honest about it, knowing that they could flee if they wanted? Question mark? I mean, they would be deemed as deserters and probably shamed their whole life, but
they could leave.
At least there was a communication there. Like, hey, we're probably none of us are gonna walk out tomorrow, so
yeah.
So that night, anybody who can winnows to the human lands past Hybern to get them out. I love this foreshadowing of, remember in the first book when after Feyre came back after getting rich from Tamlin's like big store that he had when he sent her back, that she went door to door and gave people money. It's the idea of going back to that village where those people were at that she gave money, that she winnowed those people out.
That village that treated them like shit.
But she still saved them anyway.
She's a good female.
Testament to her character for sure. Oh, at first they didn't recognize her, and then they were like, oh shit, she's Faye. Like revelation.
Oh shit. Nope, we're not going. Oh yeah, I guess we're going.
So, you know, Feyre explains in her monologue that some people went, I mean, cautiously is like the best way to say that, but then some people literally went kicking and screaming while Rhysand held their minds so that they didn't try to scream or run away. But then I feel bad when they winnowed them back to Adriata and those screaming, kicking people, like Cressida and her servants had to deal with them.
Yeah. It's like here's another sorry.
Dude, also they need a raise. Those freaking people who work at Adriata for sure. God. So some people were good, some people were bad, and they could get as many as they could. It kind of sucks for, I mean, obviously they did not evacuate the whole human realm.
Right.
I don't think that's possible.
No. But at least like obviously the village and like just the people who are in the direct line.
Well, and they did say, remember back, like, you know, Grayson's father said he would take as many people as they could. So hopefully they, you know, some of them got shelter as well. Honestly, we never really got a tally of how many many people lived in that southern part of that world.
Right. Like, are there other, I mean, clearly in the beginning of the book, it mentioned, she's like, well, I'll go to the market. I really don't feel like going to the next village over, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, how far would that village be? We never got that answer. We don't know how many villages are in there. It doesn't seem like there's any cities on this continent anymore, or on Prithian. There are on the continent, obviously. Any human cities, anyway. We don't know how many people are actually in there. We've gotten tidbits, but not really much.
So it's like, I mean, just knowing practicality-wise, they didn't get everybody out, so...
Yeah.
But also maybe they got out as many as they could before getting to the southern part, because Hybern wouldn't be down there by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Feyre is watching Rhysand sleep, which I'm gonna say this, I know we have, like, so much to go on, so I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to linger on this for too long.
Mm-hmm.
I get so upset when people say, like, the whole watching people sleep at night is weird. If I'm like, okay, there's a creepiness nature to that, I could just imagine, like, okay, me not falling asleep before my husband, and then just me just, you know, brushing my hands through his hair and just watching him sleep.
I think it's literally about your relationship, the person who's sleeping or, like, watching. Like, you're a complete stranger and you're watching someone? Yeah, let's not. That is creepy. Even if you're, like, an acquaintance or, I don't know, a classmate or a coworker, that's a little, it's not as creepy as stranger, but it's still weird. Versus, like, what you said of a partner of some kind. Like, if, like, you fell asleep and you're watching your partner sleep, great. Or if your partner is watching you, there's a level that's okay because you're in a relationship. Anyway, I got through that thought. What?
I just think it's romantic, but I will say, if I saw a Cassian-like stranger standing over my bed and he didn't immediately kill me, I'd be like, get in. And I'm not fucking lying. I would, for sure.
I believe you.
A Cassian lookalike stranger? Hell yeah.
You wouldn't even question why he's in your room watching you sleep.
If he doesn't immediately stab me or gag me, like, we're good. Just get in the bed. Shut up. Okay, we're moving on. I just wanted to say, I find it romantic in a context.
Mm-hmm.
So shame on the people for shaming that, because I think that that's romantic.
Context is important. Relationships are important. Let's just leave it at that and keep going.
Also, we don't kink shame, bitches.
No.
So she's looking at him and she's realizing not only does Feyre empower Rhysand to fight, but Rhysand inspires Feyre to fight just as hard. And so, you know, she's thinking about all this, what the night's going to bring, you know, watching him sleep. My family would fight. They're going to put their lives down tomorrow for my sisters and Amren and I to do this. And we can't mess this up.
Right.
It's very unlikely that anybody tomorrow is going to walk away again. The idea of that is scary.
Here it comes, the recalling back when Rhys said of, like, if we go to war, you know, Mor is who I call, and then Amren is who I call.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, when myself, Cassie, and Azriel Mor are dead, that's, like, I'll call upon Amren, and it's just like, I'll hope that she kills me first, and it recalls back to that, and I'm like, oh my god, is that gonna, like, happen?
I'll find a way to unleash her and then hope she kills me first. It's the idea of her family, not only just Mor, Cassie, and Az and Rhys specifically, but them literally walking on the battlefield knowing they might not, for them specifically. This was so fucking cool when I read it the first time, and it's still cool now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let him do it. Here we go. The thing we've been waiting for, the thing that we all knew was coming, but it's here. I didn't care about the cost or the risk. He had given enough. If it was what I had to give, my own cost to buy them a sliver of survival, I would gladly pay it. So, with the last dregs of her power, Feyre winnows to the hewn city. She is willing. First of all, I just want to say, if the mirror breaks her apart, I love how she just says, Amren just needs a body tomorrow. She could just carry me.
Yeah, just use the power that's in there.
She is willing to look into the Ouroboros, the mirror of beginnings and endings, to save Rhys from, and not only Rhys, but to save her family from this fate.
Doesn't she leave while Rhys is sleeping?
Yeah.
She doesn't tell him that she's gonna go look into it because she knows he would probably stop her or ask to go with her.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So she's doing the same thing again.
Even though she said she wouldn't.
What is the saying? Ask for forgiveness.
Oh, yeah. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
There you go. Yeah. So I love how at first I thought it was a descent. It's an ascent. 1,000 steps. And I love this of her hearing in the background as, like, she puts the Fey light up for herself. Only you can decide what breaks you, curse breaker. Only you. Is it real?
Yeah. What is it with the night court and steps?
1,000 steps? Jesus, yeah.
Versus, like, the House of Winds 10,000 steps, and
she's already exhausted from running around. That was just the thing she needed, right?
Right, of course, you know, a physical thing to get up there and, you know, I'm totally imagining what
like a spiral staircase.
Oh yeah, kind of. Kind of like a rocky version of the spiral staircase in Sleeping Beauty, the original Sleeping Beauty. I mean, of literally, Aurora is following the green floating light up the stairs.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't hers at the time, and this one is Feyre's, but
we both knew, I think when we both read this the first time, respectively, we both knew the Ouroboros was going to come in again at some point, but I feel like a lot of people forgot about it until the end, and then it was
same time, Sarah's been doing good about nudging a reminder of it. I wonder about the Ouroboros. I wonder, should I do this? Or it made me think about blah 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 blah.
The constant, is it to the point where I would risk it? Looking into it, and at that point it wasn't. But I don't think it was until the Suriel told her that she, actually thought that she could do it. So when she ascends the staircase, it is snowing with moonlight. Let me just remind you, she is under a mountain. There are no fucking windows. There's no light that is going to get down in there. How the fuck is there snow and moonlight down there?
I think it's coming from the mirror itself.
God, it totally gives me Harry Potter, the first book. Oh my God.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was trying to say, and then I forgot about it. Yes, definitely it reminds me of the Mirror of Reflections.
Oh my God, it does. But just a more cursed version.
Yeah. Instead of showing you what your deepest desire is, showing you your deepest fears.
It's who you are at your core.
Yeah. So still deep, very deep, but
I like this ominous nature though of that, because that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, dude, how the fuck is there moonlight down here? It's legit under a mountain. I mean, obviously it's magic, but I thought that was very ominous and cool. So when she gets there, the mirror is round, it's way taller than Feyre, and it's surrounded by a snake eating its own tail. The mirror of beginnings and endings.
Yeah, literally.
Makes so much sense. So the mirror is black and clear, but all she sees at first is herself. At first, it's very, I don't want to say innocent. She obviously feels wary, but I guess when I was thinking, when they were talking about how it made people go mad, I thought she was going to be starting wearing, I thought she was going to start seeing some weird ass shit. I didn't expect this. I don't know. I was thinking something weirder. I don't really know what I was thinking about, but it was weirder than this. So
yeah, I mean, similar, since we brought up Harry Potter, at first he only saw himself and it took a while before it materialized.
The mirror has a sense of fucking dramatic timing.
Like everything in these Sarah books.
Yeah, that's what mirrors do in fantasy books, though. They have dramatic timing for sure. So at first she sees nothing, but then, I love this creepiness. The creepiness that she sees something in the corner of the mirror and there's movement and she hears something and she sees a massive beast of claws, fangs, fur, scales. This fucking thing looks wild. It's a hodgepodge of shit.
The fan art I've seen of this mirror and what she sees is so cool.
Yeah, you'll have to find some for them. Because it was dark scales down its back. It's a fucking hodgepodge of different, which kind of fits for her, honestly.
Yeah.
But so it almost feels like a horror movie where she whirls around with a dagger in her hand to face it, and then it's not there anymore. It was never there.
It's not physically there.
It's funny the fact that she hears it too. If she just saw it, that wouldn't freak me out as much. It's the hearing it that would freak me out. So then when she turns back to the mirror, the beast is there looking at her. And she didn't at first notice, but as soon as I saw blue-gray eyes, I was like, oh shit.
That's her.
It's oh, that's me, all right.
But it makes sense though that she would have a beast.
And that was the thing that everybody was speculating about, because remember back when, I think it was honestly the first book, when Rhys was talking about the High Lord's powers, he said that a beast prowls under every High Lord's skin.
And she has the power of 7 High Lords.
And she now is a High Lady, so maybe that is her beast form. If she were to take a beast form, that would be the form that she'd take.
Right. It's her inner beast. Although that is kind of weird seeing that her inner self is literally a beast.
Very much weirdly like Tamlin in terms of a hodgepodge of, because whenever I think about the beasts, whenever I think about Rhys-Ann's beast, it's never I feel like it's just a more bat version of him. It's not a completely fucking animalistic animal. You know what I mean? When I think of beast, I just think of beefier dude with maybe more talons, maybe more scales. But this, it seems like it's an actual animal, not just a humanoid-esque creature. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah. I feel like with Rhys's beast, at least the way I picture it is, we got a vision of it a couple times with his him showing his talons and on his hands and feet. But so it's with his I I can picture it like he has, not the backwards knees, that's not the right term for it, but, like animal back legs kind of thing.
Backward knees. I know what you mean, though. I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously, like, bigger wings, that kind of stuff, but definitely more humanoid. Although it's interesting because then on the other side, Tamlin's beast is completely beast.
Yeah. It's interesting how they all differ. It'd be interesting to see all the High Lord's beast forms. But, moving on.
Yes.
The beast is looking at her, and it's her reflection, and it's what prowls beneath her skin. Imagine seeing, like, a fucking monster staring back at you and being like, that's me! That's
hey, I'm totally not scared right now.
That's who I am on the inside. So I love how we cut, because eventually she does share with us what happens, but I like how it's almost an immediate cut, because Sarah doesn't really do that very often, but it's for suspense.
Yeah.
We immediately cut to the prison, to the bone carver. Again, let me remind you how badass. Remember when Feyre couldn't even stand going into the prison? Like, she couldn't even look at it. Now she's going in there by herself. Not only that, the door is wide open. Like, she just burst into the cell.
Okay, that's a bit terrifying. Why is the door open?
Well, she opened it.
Well, yeah, but like, she just walks in and is just like, okay.
She couldn't stand being across from the bone carver when it was closed. Now she just walks in there like, what up?
Like, hey, I'm back.
So the bone carver looks up at her and he's like, you retrieved it. And out of the corner of the cell, the Ouroboros appeared, snow and ice still crusting it, which makes sense why you said that. It probably does come with the mirror.
Yeah.
So now fucking Feyre just has an artifact that she can will into being all the time.
Woo! This artifact that's literally can drive someone mad.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird that in this mirror dimension, it could have been hours or minutes, but we know that it's the same night. But she doesn't really know how long she was there looking into the mirror for.
Right.
I do like how we've been reminded constantly throughout this entire book, Liesl mentioned, right? At any point, SJM's like, kings, lords, high lords, you name it, have looked into this thing and have gone mad. She is so badass for this. I mean, she's badass already, but this takes the cake, man. Looking into the one thing and then like the metaphors behind this, which we'll get into, but I like how she's not completely unaffected though. I will say that. Like, she says that her body still feels a little foreign. Yeah, you don't go out of that experience and come out like perfectly sane again.
Right, which I appreciate. It's like, oh yeah, all of a sudden she's just able to do it. Woohoo. No, she was actually affected.
Like, it's almost, this is the end of her transformation in a weird way. I don't want to say that she's done growing, but I think she finally has come into her high lady status, I think, which is why I think that this third part is called that, the high lady.
This was like her last step.
To prove to herself that she could face herself and not run from it.
Yeah, which is really hard. Most people can't.
The bone carver is happy to help in battle, which confuses the hell out of her because he was so adamant about not getting out of the prison. Why is he so adamant now? Newsflash, this entire thing was a fucking test.
Woohoo!
He has little need of it. Apparently he's like, you keep it. He wanted to see if she was worth helping. That it was, and I love what he says here. I really love what he says. I quote, "It's a rare person to face who you truly are and not run from it, not be broken by it. That's what the Ouroboros shows all who look into it. Who they are, every despicable and unholy inch. Rare indeed. I could risk leaving here for nothing else." Bro, the metaphor behind that statement.
Risk leaving here.
Yeah, because he didn't want to leave there at all. Honestly, with what they're going into tomorrow, and obviously with what we know happens, he probably should have stayed.
Yeah.
Which is sad. I don't want to get into that yet, but it's sad.
But kind of glad that he did go.
I think that's cool. I mean, obviously, I understand why Feyre's upset here, because she's like, you wanted to see if I was worthy? I was worthy the whole time. I do like, though, how it was a test.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
It's like, were you actually willing to do this thing to get me out?
I will say, again, kind of get on another soapbox here, because I think it's important for people to hear. Loving every inch of yourself is so hard. And it's not something you learn overnight, and it's not there's some, honestly, people who never learn it, and they keep hiding from themselves.
Yeah.
I implore each and every one of you to, and again, I don't want to say like, keep working and you got this and what, like, go through the times that you need to have, but don't get so caught in them that you don't realize what you think makes you despicable or a monster or whatever the hell you'll call it isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, again, we're going to into the, I'm not telling you to go kill people tonight. If you have the need to kill people, do not do that. Right. But again, everything has limits to what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is that you should love every inch of yourself, because there's nothing that you should have to hide from anybody. Because if other people can't handle it, or if the people around you think that you're, call you names or monster or whatever, then they're obviously not the people to be around. But I promise you, the more that you start to love yourself, and this is from what I've learned, and again, I haven't perfected this yet. There are still things that I hide from in my own life. So accepting, if you can do that and accept who you really are and be like Feyre in terms of not running from even your scariest parts of yourself, then you're winning. And I applaud you if you've done that.
Yeah. I'll be open and say there are still parts of myself that I don't love, and it's an ongoing battle. That's important to at least not hide from yourself, if anything.
God damn it, Sarah. Trying to fucking therapy us during a goddamn fantasy book. Still teaching us those life lessons.
Who knew war would be good at teaching about therapy?
Right. It's like, this is why these books changed my life, for sure. And, people can say whatever they want about these books. And if you don't like these, or if you're kind of reading these books for just the heck of it, totally do that. They definitely changed my perspective on life. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So... After all of that, with her being so pissed, she grabs his hand. Girl, bro.
She has a hand? Like an actual corporal hand?
She is not scared of anything.
I mean, we don't know what she went through, but like what she just went through to get that mirror, she's not scared.
She's touching the motherfucker. I'm like, okay.
And honestly, it looks the little boy.
Yeah, it's so
just
weird.
dragging this little boy around.
Let's begin. Good God. So, as we move into chapter 69, nice. Definitely not a sex chapter for sure.
That'd be too cliche.
Dawn breaks onto the final battle scene. It's the final battle, baby. We're setting it up where it all started. We're in the human lands again. As they're making this, so this is kind of pre-battle. So they're making their way to the battlefield. Hybern fucking burned the human lands from like where they started. They've basically pulled a Mulan Huns moment of just burning that's what I picture when I think of that. All the houses burned and the little fucking doll that they find. So because I think they were saying from like the spring court to the coast, and I'm oh geez. So then they finally get to their estate, where I like to call it they pulled a President Snow. So I don't know if you guys remember the Hunger Games. I think it was like at the end of Catching Fire and at the beginning of Mockingjay Part 1 in the movie, I guess, format, visually speaking. I think President Snow demolished half of the victors' village, kept the other half.
I think that's true, yeah.
It was something like that, whereas like they demolished half of it, but then the other half was just pristine and nice because he wanted to make it a message. That's exactly what the King of Hybern did to their estate. He literally burned a third of it and kept the other half standing.
Woohoo!
It's like, oh, I really wanted to look at Callius in that moment and be like, you still think it's not about us?
Yeah, he destroyed some of these like small houses and stuff, but he specifically stopped at this estate.
And targeted it for sure.
What if like the third that was gone was Feyre's room?
I might have.
That she stayed in. The bedroom wing.
The one that what was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So, but obviously they didn't want to necessarily linger on the house, but it was definitely personal. Finding a bunch of empty houses probably made them even more mad, because they were like, because I feel like Hybern was thinking that they wouldn't do it, that they wouldn't try to save those humans and try to play on the bluff, trying to lead them into a trap, but they just did it anyway, and so he just got even more mad. Yeah, so as they're kind of, I don't want to say pre-battle, but they're like getting ready, changing and whatever. The interesting thing about, I would say Rhysand's army, I guess the Prithian army, let's say that.
Yeah.
The hard part about it, which was the whole problem of this book, was getting them together. Their army is pretty interesting, right? Because there's so many different leaders, and so they're like, who do we follow? Do we follow the High Lord? Do we follow Rhysand, who seems to be taking because he's the most powerful? Are we basing it on power? Are we basing it on who do we follow? Like, who do we serve?
Or experience or whatever.
Because Cassian seems like he's in charge, honestly, of the fucking militaries, not just Rhysand's, but like they seem to be the one making decisions, but I also think it's about power, which obviously makes it a little bit hard though, because then people get testy, and especially the Illyrians are getting testy, which doesn't bode well. Though God,
ready to fight.
Cassian pulling rank on hot on the fucking, he's just like, you guys go to the back. Okay, sure.
Okay, whatever you say.
Whatever you say, babe, sure. Well, he has to, right? If he let that slide, then more of it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to establish his dominance. So I love the idea of Feyre and Nesta just fucking getting into one of the wagons and changing.
Mm-hmm.
And they both opted for Illyrian leather. I think this is the first time we're seeing Nesta in pants.
Honestly, yeah.
I think it is.
And of course, they're Illyrian leather, so skin tight.
Oh my god. Dude, if Cassian was not focusing on the fact that they're gonna die today, he probably would have been like, whoa.
How about we hop back in that wagon?
You were about to say the cabin, weren't you?
Well, a lot of things happen at the cabin. Some things can happen in a wagon. Yes, I was.
Dude, honestly, a hot wagon scene before. Yeah, I've definitely read that before.
Or just like seeing it from the outside of just like the wagon rocking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Definitely seen that in movies.
And Nesta does have a knife at her thigh. Ooh.
Does she know how to use it?
That's hot to you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, Cassian does get at her for Liesl's right. He kind of gets at her for not knowing how to use it. But I guess at least she has it, you know?
If she needs to, I guess. She can swing it at someone.
At least it's better than nothing. Like, is it funny as shit that Elaine does not want to wear the skin-tight clothing because it's too risque? So she goes with the winter court fashion where she's literally gonna fucking die in winter clothes.
Ugh.
Can I say, when I read this the first time, as a plus-size woman, and this was back when I was a teen, so like I was like 18,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of understood her in a term of like if she was a plus size girl and was like, I don't really want to be in like something skin tight because I'm not gonna look good in it. That's not why she's not wearing it. Like, she's not wearing it because she's like, I've never wore something so scandalous.
This is wartime. What do you care? I mean, literally, King of Hybern has seen you in a very wet, see-through nightgown.
At this point, yeah. Like, if Nesta can wear pants, you can too, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Vivian does give her the clothes, and this fucking shock. This whole last sequence of events that we're going to be going into, before this, I think we all kind of suspected some things, but like, it was like, oh, it can, okay, all of this shocked me. Each moment I was like, bam, bam, wow.
Yeah.
Any last 100 pages of a Sarah novel, you know.
Exactly.
So Elaine refuses the knife that Cassian tries to give her. Then, sorry, she got mad for a second. Hey, go in with the knowledge that it was cute the first time, and then now it's not.
I mean, even the first time reading it, she still shouldn't have refused Cassian's.
Yeah, I don't want your puny ass. So she refuses the knife from Cassian, but then Azriel emerges from his shadows and hands her truth teller. Girl, we're both trying to say, Sam, you go first.
I was just gonna say, Elaine apparently doesn't want a knife, she wants a dagger.
Well, Azriel does have the biggest wingspan. Sorry.
Indeed. I mean, honestly, that dagger is probably bigger than the knife.
Jesus Christ.
But, God, I want truth teller. Why do you give it to Elaine?
God, the metaphor for that being his dick is so hilarious. Because you just saying, oh my God, I want truth teller. I'm like, I'm sitting in my brain, I'm like, yeah, you do. Girl,
I won't deny.
It was the way you said it that I was just like, yeah, you do. Oh my, dude, this is like almost the equivalent of a fucking promise ring. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is that level.
This is the dagger that you never give anyone.
Yeah, well, because at first we knew that he didn't really let anybody use the knife, but then Rhys confirms he's like, he had never seen anybody touch it. Or at least, God, now I need to get the equivalent of that being his dick out of like my mind. Okay, I said it, it's out there, it's over. I put myself into that hole when I said it because then I'm like, yeah, no one's ever touched it. But we know that's not true. Yeah, that's definitely not true.
Why does she get to touch it?
God. Compose. We love. I don't like that, but it almost seems like divine intervention in a way. I'm not gonna lie. So he says, I'm not going to use it. It has never failed me once. Some people say it's magic and will always strike true. I love how she takes the knife from him, but not from Cassian. It's like, whatever. Yes, as we said before, Rhys says, I've never once seen Azriel let another person touch that knife. That's so weird that like why did all of a sudden he just let her, which would kind of lean into our theory, maybe Elaine made him do it. I don't know. I doubt it, but me reading this the first time, I didn't think that. But maybe Elaine did make him give her the knife. I don't know. Did Elaine send him a vision in the middle of the night and, you know, give Elaine the knife tomorrow? Like...
Because you won't use it.
Which he ends up going to the fray anyway, but so Azriel, like we just said, Azriel is not going to be in the fray. I mean, again, like we know by the end of this chapter he does, but the boys fought that morning about him flying with the legions, and it took more coming in with tears to get him to agree, which, gotta say, definitely sort of manipulation after hearing that story.
But also the tears could have been as well of, more sibling of like, please don't. I'm going to use your crush on me against you right now because please don't.
Well, no, I think the tears were totally real. I think she didn't want him to hurt himself. But also, yeah, it definitely took her to get him to do it's like, okay, we're using this to our advantage for today. But please tell him after today if you guys survive. Please.
They better survive so she can tell it and he can move on with his life.
Right. And apparently go after Elaine because
anyway. She got to touch Truth Teller.
I just love how Cass and Reese just gawk at Azriel, like, for not... Because, again, I don't know about if you guys know this, but, like, guys and their weapons, bro, yeah. God damn it. I love how... Dude...
I'm not gonna say it. Let's continue.
I was going to say something like, yeah, they don't like touching each other's knives. And I was like, no, now... Okay.
They take very good care of their weapons.
Yeah, they do. Damn it. But you know what I mean by that in, like, the actual way? Like, the fact that, like, oh, this is my... It's like, I don't know, girls with fucking... I'm trying to think of some... I don't know, girls with some clothes. Like, I'm not gonna give you my favorite dress because I don't want, my favorite dress is my favorite dress. I don't want you to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
God, is that what we are reduced to? I want to have a favorite weapon that you're not gonna fucking touch. You are not going anywhere near my nunchucks, okay? Anyway, moving on. I like how Feyre gets this very painted image of Azriel and Elaine. I don't know, sometimes when Feyre has the spur of artistic nature, I appreciate when SJM throws them in because it is Feyre's character and I love how she's not forgetting that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also cool because it's like the image of Elaine as a fawn in a spring standing like on the one side and it being a very split image, and then just shadow of death, light and dark. And I think that's why a lot of people like Elaine and Azriel, whether or not we go with what we feel or not. Like, people like them because they're kind of like light and dark. I don't know. They're kind of the yin and yang thing, which seemed cool at first. I'm not gonna lie.
This may be a slight tangent, and I don't think you meant to do it, but when you were talking, you were like, for just our listeners, she was like visually saying like light and dark, but on your left side, you were just Elaine over here, and then on your right side, Azriel over here, but then you did light and dark.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna fucking know. Yeah.
As like light is Azriel and dark is Elaine.
Oh, maybe I did that intrinsically. I don't know.
Azriel does something to me, I guess.
So obviously, then we get to the very romantic Reese and Feyre looking at each other and Feyre being like, I spent my night looking in the fucking Ouroboros with the bone carver when I could have been spending it with Reese. And Reese is like, don't think like that. Don't go into this battle thinking we won't want to walk out. Even though that's what everyone's thinking. In the midst, I love how SJM is fucking stringent towards their characters. Even in the midst of them about to fucking die. Good old Rhysand is fucking making a sex joke and being like, well, we have some time. Let's go into the wagon's available. Like, you were joking before, but he's actually like, let's jump in there. I would, but no. I just got all this tight leather on. It's gonna be hard to get this off. For sure. If anybody's worn like true leather, yeah, there's no way.
It's so hard to get off.
So I'm gonna even start tearing up as we talk about this, but this whole them in a circle together makes me fucking tear up. It's Rhysand's final gathering, final speech of sorts, specifically for his inner circle. It's not for, it's not a Braveheart scenario where he's rallying the troops. This is a very intimate talking with just his family. Our family, the court of dreams.
Them, like, I picture them, like, all holding hands and be like, yes, come here, bring it in.
Oh my God, are you gonna start crying?
No.
Okay. I really thought you were gonna start crying there. I was like, fair, but also, it's okay.
Haha, acting.
No, you're pretty good there. I love how Amren's the one to speak up, though. It's like, we want the real one, Rhysand. I love this. Everybody, Moor's in her armor, Amren's in her Illyrian leathers, which apparently were meant for children, which is hilarious.
Ooh, children Illyrian.
Good God. It's like, don't tell her, but they are.
Yeah.
I love... God. I believe everything happens for a reason. Already has me sold. I say that all the fucking time. Liesl could commend this. I say it all the time, because I wholeheartedly believe that. I'm grateful for it wherever it was, grateful that it brought all of you into my life. I like how he compares himself to the king. He's like, if I didn't meet all of you, I might have been as bad as the king, which honestly, he probably could have. I mean, I don't think his character would have ever let him do that, but also the idea that they're he's kind of a foil is interesting to me. And I love hearing what he has to say about each and every person we love. I really love this.
Yeah.
And why each one of them is in his life specifically. So we start with Cassian, good old boy. I would not have known the true depths of strength or resilience of honor and loyalty. I'm saying these verbatim because they act, dude, there's no other way to say them. It's beautifully written.
It is. It's a wonderful.
I love Cassian because that's who he is. He's resilient, strength, honor, loyalty. Like, that's him for sure. If I hadn't met a shadow singer, I would have not have known that is the family you make, not the one you were born into, that matters. I would not have known what it is to truly hope, even when the world tells you to despair. Aww. I love how that's been given to Azrael, because that's kind of the motif for their whole court. It's like, it's the family you make, but I like how that was specifically given to him, specifically because his family.
Boy.
And then, of course, more in tears already. If I had not met my cousin, I would have never learned that light can be found even in the darkest of hells, that kindness can thrive even amongst cruelty. Aww. It's so true. This is how I feel like when I talk to my friends. When I tell them stuff, I'm Rhysand in this moment for sure. I say this kind of cringy but like beautiful shit all the time. And then, of course, with Amren, if I'd not met a tiny monster who hoards jewels more fiercely than a fire drake. Also, the comedy is really nice to lighten the mood. My own power would have consumed me long ago. Aww. Girl, this fucking quote makes me cry every time. Oh my god. And if I had not met my mate, he says that part out loud. Then, with silver lined eyes, he says it down the bond because he can't say it out loud. I would have waited 500 more years for you. 1,000 years. And if this was all the time we were allowed to have, the wait was worth it.
If you think about it, she's only been with him for like a year.
Yeah, it's been very short. But, because he has waited a long time for her. Because for him, it's been 500 years.
I have died every day waiting for you.
God, oh my god, I cry every time I hear that song. That's why I liked Twilight, that quote, because that's also from Twilight, by the way. He's like, I would have waited another 100,000 years for you, or something like that. I think he said 1,000 years as well. The romantic aspect. Okay, let's like take the, immortality thing out of the way. The idea that somebody would wait that long to be with you is very romantic. Especially for maybe people in our situation who, I don't want to say our, like as in, I've never been in a really long-term relationship. The idea of then being with, like, I'm waiting for the right person to come along. And so the idea that somebody is waiting for me just like I'm waiting for them is very a romantic aspect to me. And dude, it makes me cry every time. Because, like, that's where I am at in life, and that's where I have always been since I was young, 18. Yeah. So, because I didn't have any, like, people have these long loves or whatever, long stories of people that were together for a long time and then they broke up, whatever. Or they have these, we've been together ever since high school. I never had that. I've never really been in a long-term relationship. So this idea is very romantic to me.
It's very appealing.
Oh, for sure. If a guy said this to me in a bar, we'd be going home together. I'm not the one-night stand type, but sure, if somebody said that. He says out loud, I believe that everything happened exactly the way it had to so I could find you. And then he looks at her sisters and he's like, well, we haven't known each other for too long, but I believe that you were brought here today to our family for a reason too, so let's find out why.
Find out why. Let's see how long you last on the battlefield. Good luck.
It's like, oh, and they all hold hands, like Liesl said, in a circle, all linked, bonded. I love the line of, where was it? Another Rhysand line. But if it was decided by the tapestry of fate, or the cauldron, or the mother, that we do not walk off the field today, the great joy and honor of my life has been to know you. And I'm grateful more than I possibly say that I have been given this time with you all. We are grateful, Rhysand, Amren said, more than you know.
I like moments when Amren actually shows up that she's the second in command.
She's the one to speak up for the crew because she's the only one that probably could right now. I don't think anyone could make a pre-battle speech better than Rhysand. I don't think in any fantasy book I've read anybody's topped this, for me, for sure. So, that being said, let's go make sure Hybern is very ungrateful to have met us. I feel like I've said that in real life. Not in the Hybern way, but I'm just like, I'll make you very ungrateful to have known me. If you cross me, for sure.
You've probably said something very similar along those lines.
Yeah. So now we're finally they're up at the top of the knoll, where I want to say the executives are, I guess, where the sisters and Amren and Rhys are going to be until the battle really starts.
Until it's distracted enough for them to go.
Yeah, because they have to have the high ground and whatever. So again, all those things that we kind of been talking about over the, over the chapters when, Cassian has talked about the battlefield and all that. Literally, Hybern has every advantage. They have the battlefield, they have the numbers, they have the advantage of coming upon them with more strength, and they're not exhausted. They are.
Yeah.
So they look over the vast host onto the plain, and it's wild and scary. And the Bat Boys survey what's going to happen, and Cassian kind of gives them, honestly, the what for and what he thinks. He's like, I think he said, they have a few hours? Jesus Christ, that's terrible.
There goes all the morale from the pep talk.
For sure, yeah. So, yep, they were waiting and poised. I love how Cassian's about to say something to Nesta, and then rethinks, and then just flies off anyway. Nesta watching after him. I'm like, ugh.
Dude, you're gonna regret that decision if one of you dies.
Yeah, don't do that. Babe. Haven't we learned this lesson 5 times now? Where somebody has said, oh, I probably should, we shouldn't leave things unsaid, and they're still doing it. Well, but maybe that's the thing, though. Maybe they don't want the inevitable, so they're just like, no, we are going to survive. I'm gonna make sure of it. You could say that, but so Azriel is trying to make himself useful. I feel bad because I feel like he feels like he's handicapped. His shadows are trying to find the cauldron, but it's too warded, dude. Even his shadows couldn't really get to it.
Yeah. It does kind of make me think of when they were talking about the last war, about how Rhys's father kept Azriel at his side, permanently, and they were kind of watching over the battle while Rhys and Cassian were in the mud fighting. It kind of gives that vibe again.
Oh no, Cassian's down there by himself. He wants to. He really wants to. But also, I guess in a way, you could say he is a liability, though, if he's down there, because he can't protect people as best as he could. So he's a liability to others as well. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true.
Yeah.
So Rhys is obviously scared for Feyre and the sisters and Amren, because he basically is going to have to let them go by themselves into the fray when everything happens.
Yeah.
And he has to stay because again, Hybern still has that lock on his magic, which they never figured out why. I think it's just because Rhys is so powerful that he clung on to it somehow, and he can sense it. If he goes with them, they're going to be a walking target, so they'll know they're coming.
Yeah.
So obviously he can't go.
Right.
We reiterate again that nobody has seen Baron or Eris or Tamlin, and I literally am just fucking cowards. Fucking cowards. Which again,
don't want to fight on the battlefield, huh?
I kind of get a boot in my mouth when I read this the first time, but that was my first thought for sure. So then of course everybody's barking orders, and so the fighting begins to start. So apparently there's this etiquette that I guess I didn't really realize, but maybe this was the only battle that it happened, where when it's the big final battle, it's magic against magic before the real fighting begins. So it's literally just them putting up shields and them throwing power at the shields, try to get theirs down first. Dude, Amren just, remember how boring this part is. Honestly, if we were all watching that for however long it was, probably would think the same thing. Not gonna lie. But also, you feel like you'd want it to last as long as it could, especially if you're trying to race the clock down.
Right.
But Rhys is saving his power because he's gonna give a fatal blow to the army right from the start.
Right.
And again, I want to reiterate so much in this last section. Again, I don't want to speed over anything because everything's so important, but everything is surprise after surprise after surprise, and it's so fucking cool and epic. I can't say it enough. So, as they're looking over, and as the shields are about to go down, they can sense it kind of coming, and I just love Feyre being like, I never got you a mating gift.
Just out of nowhere.
And Rhys is not paying attention to her at all. It's I've been thinking about what to get you, and this mating gift is for the both of us. So, she glamored so Bryaxis and the Bone Carver were on the field the whole time. Nobody noticed. Because she glamored them, and she also glamored the tattoo. She has a tattoo on her back, another tattoo.
She's just liking the tattoos.
Hey, dude, you'd be the same way.
Yeah.
JK. That's for you earlier. I'm trying to get back.
That's fair. That was a very light blow.
Yeah, JK with the biker, and the biker black shirt on the motorcycle with his tattoos out.
Okay, fair.
You're welcome. That's it.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Fair blow.
So, is it interesting that the tattoo on her back is the 4 phases of the moon? Is there more phases of the moon, or am I fucking making that up.
There are technically more, if you want to get technical about it.
I was like, I guess like the 4 main phases of the moon.
Yeah,
I guess.
there are 4.
Like,
well, technically there's 5.
There's 6. There's the waning crescent, the waning gibbous, full moon, first quarter, the waxing crescent, and the new moon. So, like, I mean, the new moon would just be blank though, so I feel like that wouldn't even be a phase.
That's
so
true. Unless it was completely black.
And I don't even think like the quarter. I feel like what it is, it's the crescents. It's the crescents and then like the full moon, I'm assuming. Again, okay. It doesn't go into that many specifics about which 4 phases it is. But I mean, you could theorize, but I don't really think it has a meaning.
Yeah.
I think the idea being the moon phases is the fact that she's the High Lady and that's what she wore on her tiara at the
okay.
I feel like that's what's supposed to simplify. Because again, if we were talking about the bone carver getting the Ouroboros in the first place, was her becoming the High Lady, really? Like her stepping into the role, actually, fully? I feel like that symbolism is...
Yeah. To be honest, when I think of like Feyre's tattoo, moon tattoo, I do think of Jimin's back tattoo.
Yes, I do.
It was like literally the faces of the moon there.
Delicious.
I was literally about to say delicious.
Dude, I know, we're the same person. It's wild. I know. This is what happens when you spend all the time together. So of course, Bryaxis and the Bone Carver emerge from the glamour, and just Bryaxis is this big fucking black cloud, and then the Bone Carver emerging as a fucking Illyrian Fae warrior in his prime. Let me just ask this, because I didn't the first time because I was so baffled by all the surprises. Where did they find that body? Because unless you're trying to tell me that she fucking just created a body out of nowhere, they either possessed somebody or they found a dead body. Like, you can't tell me that they didn't.
Although, if she did create the body, it would make sense to how she recreated the wings by remembering, like, Reese's wings.
I guess, but that's on herself, though. Like, just creating a body out of thin air feels like a little different than changing her appearance.
That's true. But what if the Bone Carver had a bunch of bones? What if he had the bones of an Illyrian warrior and they put those together?
Oh, the Bone Carver was like, oh, I was preparing for this. Here's the body. Like, just a random fucking Illyrian there for no reason. Well, because the reason I bring it up is because the way Amryn described it was that she took over a body.
That's true.
When she talks about how she got out of the prison, she said, so that made me think that they took over somebody. So, again, that's an answer that I'm probably never going to get, but I am curious. I do love how the first thing that Rhys does, because Rhys is the best mate and the best male ever, the first thing is that he looks nervous and he looks her up and down like, wait, she didn't go crazy. Is she okay? For looking in the mirror.
Although I can imagine that'd be like kind of scary of like, you know, you hear all these rumors of the Ouroboros and then you realize that your mate has looked into it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
While you were asleep.
I don't even feel like he's comprehending that she even did it that night. I feel like it's just everything's happening so fast that it's just like, okay, this is a good thing for the now.
Yeah, maybe he was wondering that if she, yeah, I think you're right. He's not thinking about it. But if he might consider that she could have gone any other night, not specifically last night.
Yeah, right. True. I do like how, though, when they start talking about this, I like how when Rhys asked what she saw in the Ouroboros, we get what she saw, but she doesn't tell him that because she says, this is the one thing that Feyre wants to keep to herself.
With respect to that.
So she legit had a freak out. She's saying she raged, she wept, she cowered, she vomited, she screamed, she trembled at every horrific and cruel, selfish thing, beheld the monster within, but I kept watching. So the difference between others is that she didn't look away from watching it. She let it happen and still watched.
It makes me think that, like, if the people look away from it, that's what snaps their brain. Because probably looking into it, their mind gets attached to it, and if they look away, they snap that tether.
Or yeah, and maybe they see it everywhere. So maybe instead of like, it's almost like you have to watch the whole home movie. So if you like, I don't know why this is the first thing that popped into mind, but remember those like old pregnancy videos?
Yes.
That they'd make you watch? You have to sit and watch the whole thing because if you didn't, they'd make you rewatch it.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to see the birthing process. Made me never want to have a kid for years. I will say that. But again, jokingly wise, but maybe that is, I think you're on the right path. I feel like there was a tether, but because they didn't watch the whole thing, they're cursed to have to live it all the time. And so that's what makes them go crazy, because they see that. It's almost like they see the beast of themselves everywhere.
Yeah.
But then I love how she says, I watched all those wretched things, but then I began to see other things, more important things, more vital. It's like she saw the things that were her deepest, probably weaknesses, I'd say. Weaknesses is a strong word, but the worst parts about about herself, but then realize what made those vital to her as a person, or what caused it to make her such a good person. Because sometimes somebody can go through like a very tragic thing and have a terrible backstory and think horrible things, but then turn out to like the reason that is though is they're actually a really good person on the outside. I love how this though, she finally forgives and loves all of herself. And I love this metaphor and lesson. I already talked about it, so I'm not going to go too much on the soapbox, but I like how my final thing about this, not only forgiving and loving yourself like we talked about before, but especially what the Surreal said. I tell this to Liesl all the time, and I say this to all my friends. When you start allowing others to decide what makes you have anxiety attack, or again, and I'm saying this again, I don't have anxiety and I'm not neurodivergent anyway, so I'm not trying to like diminish any of y'all's struggles in life. But once you start giving agency to the people around you of letting them decide stuff for you, or not even just deciding that, but deciding what you can handle and or will break, that's when you've lost your sense of agency.
Yeah, because you lost control of yourself.
You are the person who decides what breaks you and what doesn't. And I want that to get into everybody's heads because it's true. Like, I'm the only one that can decide whether or not this tragedy in my life is going to break me forever and I'm never going to get better, or if it will break me for a time and then I'll heal from it eventually. So snaps all around. I think that's a really great lesson for her to put in there, especially at the end of this through Feyre's. Again, this is like technically quote unquote, apparently like what she said was going to be the end of Feyre's journey, which got me a little nervous. I was like, dude, is she gonna die? I was like, I hope not. I love how she's like, I loved especially the bad. Wink, wink. So then, of course, Rhys always has to one-up her. Like, the one time I thought she was gonna one-up him with something, he fucking Uno reversed it and threw it back in her face. Rhys brought a gift of his own. Striga, the Weaver, comes out of the fucking, from the other side. And badass, the first thing that Feyre sees is Ianthe's gem on top of her head.
Her crown.
Hot damn.
Or tiara?
Diadem?
I think it specifically said it was her crown because it went all the way around.
Crown, okay.
But anyway, it's still satisfying.
Good God. It's almost like Striga knew and was like, yep, fuck you guys. Here's to toast to family reunions, I guess. Yeah,
let's go with that.
Dude, the bone carver was so shocked.
I know, he was just wary.
Well, because wasn't that...
They haven't seen each other in, like, forever.
Yeah, like, I would say 15,000 years, probably.
Yeah.
Though, is it crazy that he's just like, I don't want to ever see my siblings because they scare me. First time he gets out, he has to see his sibling. God.
But apparently they're on the same side, so that's good for him, I guess.
It totally makes sense of why Helium was out in the middle that day, because, like, Helium was the one that needed to break Striga's enchantments on the cabin that she was in. Because at first I was like, why the fuck is Helium out there? And it was like, we didn't learn it till now, but he made a bargain on Rhys's behalf, which is weird because we haven't really seen it where somebody has made a bargain on somebody else's behalf. It's usually been faced, like, direct.
It makes me wonder if then in that sense the bargain is actually with Helium.
Interesting, because I wonder what did he give her?
Right.
Or what did she ask for? Like, I wonder what, like, because I don't think we ever figure that out. Honestly.
I don't think so.
I wonder what it took. I wonder what it took for him to do that.
Yeah.
Was it just to get the enchantments off her place? I doubt it. But whatever. I guess in this moment it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Another thing to add to our list of what to ask Sarah. I'm just like, what happened?
This is the best part about, like, doing a reread is because, like, on my first read, I didn't give a fuck about all that. I was like, oh, Striga, Bone Carver, what the fuck? And then and then reading it back, I was like, wait, how did And I was just thinking all these other things. So it's like, again, this is such a good series to reread for sure. So then the monsters unleash themselves upon Hybern. All three of them. Badass. They thought they were going to go into this battle with only one. They come with three.
Well, I guess Bryaxis isn't well known, but two of them are very well known.
It's funny that we didn't see Cassian's reaction to...
I know, honestly, Cassian up in the sky with the Legion looks down, sees Bryaxis. Honestly, I wonder if that meant that he saw whatever he saw when he got scared. Of just, like, looking down and like, what the fuck? If
he just did, like, see his worst fear or something.
Yeah.
And he just got so scared by it. I wonder. We'll never know.
We shall never know.
I appreciate how going into chapter 70, Amren's, you actually did it. Amren doesn't get impressed by much. So...
Although, at the same time, we've seen a couple moments where she does get impressed or surprised, and it's usually related to Feyre.
And I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I did something. So, yes, the armies clash, finally. Girl, do not judge me. Do not judge me. But, dude, I need to compose myself. I'm sorry. The idea of Rhys just pointing and all this obsidian power unleashing from his fingertip into the mass of the army and just wiping them out in mist. Hot as fuck. Yeah, like, that's hot as fuck.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I don't know what to tell you. It is. It's hot as hell. Moving on. No. Yeah, so... The Illyrians are unleashed again, and apparently they have another adder army. Ew. So it's like, that's technically their aerial legion against the Illyrians.
Yeah.
Which is gross. I love the idea of just how Feyre's describing this as fangs, muscle, pure terror. Of course she had to, like, throw muscle in there because, like, for
That's
sure.
a you move.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd just be like, oh my god, blood, dirt, muscles.
Hot.
Yeah. Okay, you do not tell me that the whole Rhys pointing but staring at Feyre in this very, like, hot feralness nature and him just wiping out, like, a fucking chunk of their army is not hot as F.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's what makes it so hot.
Okay, you living on the edge right now.
Dude, I'm just as terrifying, so...
It is really powerful, though.
So, Bryaxis and the Bone Carver are fighting. Obviously, the Bryaxis has no weapons.
No, but I think he shows off everyone's nightmare, so that's just as much.
I love how the Bone Carver is just fighting with fucking bones. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, he probably made those himself.
Oh, for sure. He's been fucking whittling those bones forever. I wonder if one of them was the Middengard worm. If it was the one that, like, killed it. I just wonder. I doubt it, but it'd be funny if it was.
It would.
And then just Strigus shredding through folks. I'm like,
of
good
course.
for you.
It's like, okay, that's probably a good thing that Feyre didn't get caught.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Strigus kind of, like, spared her.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think she was so intrigued.
Very much.
I love it, though, how, you know, Sarah puts in that detail that she has to keep the Bone Carver and Bryaxis in check, because that was something they were worried about the entire book, where they were like, even if we did have them on the battlefield, how could we tether them to make sure that they wouldn't kill their soldiers?
Right.
And I love how she's adding it here. She's like, she has to pull on the fucking bonds to make sure that they don't.
Wow. She's pretty powerful if she literally has leashes for Bryaxis and a death god.
On two of them, yeah. I did eye roll at the fact that, you know, this is the first time Elaine's watching a battle from atop, and she's, like, covering her ears. Now, I will, for people who are, like, sound sensitive, I can completely understand that, but I doubt that that's what's going on.
Yeah.
I think she just never has before, and so she's having this reaction. God, we dislike her so bad. I feel like at this point it's sad.
I'm sorry, Elaine, but I really don't like you.
Yeah, it's just a natural thing. I also like the image of, so Feyre's, as she's monologuing the battlefield. She's monologuing every one of her friends fighting. She's monitoring them. Mor is fighting beside Vivian, watching her back like she promised Callias all those months ago, which is so sweet. Like, Amren is ready to move. She's like, we need to go now. Because, like, Amren, with all the stuff going on, like, they're not gonna, even by the time they even get down there, it's gonna be over. So here's where the Deus Ex Machinas come in like clockwork. Rhys is, the army isn't even not engaged. Like, they literally haven't even gotten past the front lines. They shouldn't go now, is what he's saying. And then, out of the, you know, the roaring of the blades, the weapon, whatever, a horn sounds. And guess who motherfucking shows up? Baron, Tamlin, and Grayson's army, Grayson's men, being led by Jurian.
Baron showing up, I'll admit, I was not expecting it. I was expecting, like, Eris to lead some soldiers, but not Baron.
I was like, shut the front door. This is cool. I mean, it's cool, I guess, sure.
And of course they enter with a fucking horn.
He has to be so extra. Jesus Christ.
Lose all element of surprise that you could have had.
It's whatever, right?
Yeah.
Apparently, so Eris winnows to Rhysand and them where they're standing, and he kind of tells them the lowdown about what happened. Apparently, Tamlin dragged Baron's ass out of his castle to fight. Wish we could have seen it.
Honestly, yeah.
I think even Eris was like, yeah, we wish you could have been there, for sure.
Honestly, that's what we need from Sarah. We need just, like, small novella with, like, just the these short stories.
These moments that we really wanted to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and we gotta give it to Tamlin. I'm gonna give him in his time in the sun right now.
Mm-hmm.
He summoned a host, however small it is. He rallied people, got Baron out of his keep to fight, and even rallied the humans to fight. Even though Grayson and his fucking father don't like them or whatever,
right?
They're still gonna fight side by side.
Humans and Fae fighting together once more, 500 years later.
Right, exactly. So Eris is kind of giving them the load, which is so funny that he's the one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Tamlin wants orders, Jurian does what of your father. We're taking care of a problem. So the one good thing Eris and his brothers have ever done, it's probably this moment right here, they set the caches of Faebane on fire. Hey, you know what? Good. You guys are still assholes, but good. At
least you have some kind of smarts.
Yeah, they were actually pretty smart for doing that. It's at this point, you don't fucking care as long as they're fighting for on the right side right now. Like, they don't care at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, the distraction's fully made. It's time for the girls to go. They're gonna follow the path of bodies that Striga has left for them because Rhysand, I guess, sent it in her mind that, like, she should lead them through.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're about to go. And I'm thinking to myself, when I read this the first time, I was thinking this for sure. I was like, you want Elaine to go down in that? Dude, she's not gonna survive that.
I mean, she's been cowering and hiding this whole time, so she kind of needs a taste of it, though.
And you know what? I do want to see, and honestly, I'm going to give some semblance to Elaine back. I really want to see that Elaine that kicked the fuck out of that Naga's face when it was on Azrael. I want to see that Elaine again.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like, she hasn't been showing us that, and so I'm like, where's that bitch?
Right.
I want her back.
Bring her back.
So obviously, I'm thinking, no way. I was like, what's going to happen here? I have doubts.
Mm-hmm.
The Weaver somehow knows where the cauldron is. Rhys is trying to say that Striga has a really good sense of smell. And, I mean, being a death goddess, I mean, she probably has some sort of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's smell or whether she can just feel another godlike essence.
Right.
Who knows, but she can sense it. Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So, Feyre looks back to Rhys one last time, very much in a very romantic, okay, we were the only two people standing there moment, which is very, I'm ready for the cringe back. I'm ready for the cringy romance. But it's good cringe.
Yeah.
It's like, we were the only two people on the plane. She's about to speak to him in farewell, and here is where the stuff goes to shit. Bro, this was wild the first time, remember?
Yeah.
So, Nesta goes down, and she starts fucking heaving up, very much exactly like she did during the High Lords meeting at the tail end of it, which they now know is a sign that the cauldron is about to be used.
Yeah.
So everybody's on high alert. Rhys and Az are putting up a shield around everybody. Girl, I definitely want your thoughts.
Yes.
So Eris winnows away, whatever, and then Nesta could see where the cauldron was about to be unleashed. It's almost like she could see, it's almost, it's like a sniper rifle, like that red dot or whatever. It totally makes me think like she could have seen where the path was going. And then Nesta began screaming, not in pain, but a name, over and over again. Cassian. She screams for Cassian.
And we're thinking that she's never really said his name before.
No, she really hasn't.
And here she is, she's just no regard for anything else. Her main focus is him.
I think this is the first time he's hearing her say, because she's used his name with Feyre before, but I don't think he's ever
had it directed to him.
Yeah.
And especially not in this, I can only imagine what he's thinking of. He's in the midst of battle and, he's fighting, and then all of a sudden he hears Nesta's voice calling to him, screaming at him over and over again. And he knows the plan of she's down on the battlefield. He's like, oh shit.
It's, first of all, before we get into the nitty gritty of this, I love how it's such a character focused thing because Cassian knows Nesta is somebody who's not gonna scream, not gonna grovel, not gonna blah blah blah. The fact that she's screaming is what causes him the most alarm, and that's why it's so immediate because she knows that. She knows that he will come running for her if she screams for him for help, and that's why she does it. Her fully knowing that.
Yeah.
Where she not only did she know where the blast was going to hit, it was supposed to aim right for him. He was going to be in the front of it because he was leading it. I let the vision. Oh god, girl, the writing is so good. The idea of a shot of of red coming straight for them, and that he's beating his wings as fast as he could, and then there's just this white beam of light
that like passes behind him. Like I can see it visually as well. It just passes behind him.
Because again, if we're talking about the battlefield for a second, they figure out why they chose to be up on a hill is because they chose for the cauldron to be up in distance where it could hit the Illyrians in the sky. Bro, 1,000 warriors were in the skies 1 minute, gone the next. Hot damn. Basically just ashes. Like I think even in the start of the next chapter, like they literally just say ashes.
The ashes of your comrades are like falling on top of your head.
Oh my god. Nesta saved him in the nick of time. God, this dilemma of that Rhys is dealing, I mean, mostly it's Cassian, but also I feel like there's a semblance of guilt for Nesta as well. The idea that if she could have saved anyone, of course she's gonna save him, because obviously at this point we're like, dude, she cares about him, whether or not she wants to agree with it or not.
I mean, and she didn't have enough time to, warn anyone else.
It's the idea that Cassian and, well, first of all, Cassian with the Survivor's Guild, because not only is he in charge of them, but imagine on his end that he ran away. Whether he knew he thought he was going to save her, right? But turns out that he just got out of Dodge. He just literally abandoned his men for death. Obviously, that's not how we're going to see it, because it's obviously, thank God that Nesta got him out of the way. But I love this toss-up. I love this hardship with this decision, of this spur-of-the-moment decision. Nesta could have only saved one of them, because she couldn't have gotten them all out in time.
Yeah, no.
Save the one person that she could have gotten, that she knew would come immediately.
The one that she cared about, whether she wants to admit it or not.
Bro, it's such a rock and a hard place scenario, but I mean, first of all, I'm glad he's alive.
Yeah.
But the guilt on both of them, I mean, mostly on Cassian for the survivor's guilt, but also guilt on Nesta, that she literally just let 1,000 Illyrians die.
An entire legion.
But could only save him.
God, imagine if Azriel was flying in this war.
Yeah.
And he could have been up there as well.
It's, what the fuck? Like, I was expecting there to be carnage in this last battle, but that definitely shook me. Oh my god. Of course, again, for another shot, because again, that wasn't enough. Hybern focuses the cauldron on his own army. He's willing to take out a chunk of his army just to get rid of, who's he aiming for? Dude, he just returned.
Oh, Mr. Carver.
What is it with Sarah and killing like our beloved monsters? What is that?
Right? Like we built up like a relationship, a rapport with these monsters, these creatures, and suddenly they're ripped from us.
Whether or not it's creepy or not, like they're still creepy, but God, and I think it was you specifically when we reread this that I wanted to highlight specifically that before even, so obviously the cauldron is aiming for the Carver. It's the sound of Striga that really got us.
I like the way that it's written. Just a few specific words of a sisterly scream.
Yeah.
That hit me. Personally, I mean, we learned that they were twins, but as an older sister, that hit me at heart, especially considering that the Bone Carver was said that he was scared of his siblings.
Yeah. It was specifically it says an unearthly female shriek, a sister's warning and pain.
A sister's warning that came too late.
Damn it. Well, but honestly, I don't think he would have went out of the way.
No, he wouldn't have.
It's the symbolism of Feyre figuring out really why the Bone Carver went in the first place. First of all, yeah, again, I'm not an older sibling, so I don't really understand where you're coming from, but I mean, I guess in the way that we're siblings, I can understand, but the idea of the Bone Carver just in his final moments looking at Feyre and smiling, and he's just gone with the white light. I'm like, dude, this is brutal, but I fucking love it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think it's, if we're thinking about what we've experienced with the Bone Carver, he was asking about what she saw with death, and, she said she had a choice, and so he wanted to see for himself, it seems.
There's a lot to take in with this. I mean, there wasn't really much he could do. The idea that the cauldron would kill Death God, though, was kind of wild to me.
Yeah.
But it's also, remember, didn't they also say that they choose when they die?
Yeah, that's true.
It's the idea that the Carver wanted his death to be worth going down for someone or something that was worth it, and that thing was her that was worth dying for.
She was worth it. That was what he was asking.
Oh my god. I love the idea that the first thing she feels is the emptiness of the tattoo. tattoo, because we got that before with the whole Rhys and Feyre bargain, is that, oh, the only way the tattoo would disappear is if, like, he died or something.
She feels the removal of the tattoo.
Yeah. And the emptiness now there. Ooh, that's so weird. I didn't expect him to die. I'll be honest.
I didn't expect him to die so soon.
Yeah, not like that. I could have maybe expected him to die at some point, but not like that.
I mean, I gotta hope that it was, like, not painful death. I hope it was a quick death.
I wanted to be out in a blaze of glory instead of just, like, a wipeout. But also the image of, like, just the white light and then him smiling and then him disappearing is also very visually cool. Terrifying, but also visually cool. It's the idea that the Hybern wanted to take out two strongest parts of their army. The Illyrians, who are the badasses, and then the monsters. It's like, yeah, you guys have monsters. I could wipe them out in a heartbeat. Bro, that's scary as shit. Oh God. And then, especially at the top of the next chapter, like I said, with the ashes falling down, it's so fucking brutal. But at the same time, I love that, again, SJM, her writing, it's perfect here. So obviously, this is where they start to panic.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I understand why.
I get it.
Obviously, Cassian lands, and I mean, he's still worried about Nesta. Like, he's cradling her, he's making sure she's okay. He said, what is it? It's gone quiet again. I mean, he knows.
Yeah.
But he's still asking her what's wrong with her.
Right.
Can I just admit, though, that, like, Grayson's men didn't falter? For humans, that's pretty fucking rad.
Right.
I think Jurian was just like, get the fuck back in line.
So we gotta use this to our advantage.
He's not gonna feel good with leaving his soldiers to die, but this is not the time to think about that.
No.
Cassian's like, what the hell can we do against that? It's like, yeah, we don't know. So Azriel's finally throwing his hat in the ring. He's going against orders. Hot, for sure. He doesn't give a fuck about, whether or not Rhys is gonna tie him to the tree. He'd break the tree off and fly with it on his back and fight.
Determined, huh?
We like determined. But it also just shows his very, like, at this point, like, they can use anyone they can get. So, that being said, Nesta's out of commission. She's on the ground in a fucking heave. Elaine is puking her guts up because of all the carnage. So, Amren's like, you want to do this? Do this together?
It's like, is it possible to do it with just us?
I guess if it's more than one person, it doesn't, I guess, like, if it was just one person, I feel like it's hard. If it was more than one person, maybe it'll better. So, the army starts to get overwhelmed. So their army starts to get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And another horn, but this time it did not belong to an ally. It's literally Hybern sailing out from the Western Sea with a fucking armada teeming with soldiers.
Oof.
So I'm not a tactician, but I'm pretty sure that's like the equivalency of boned.
According to my calculations, you guys are screwed.
Yeah, like, if you're dominated by land and sea, that's definitely not good. Did you like what I said? Are you laughing at what I said?
Perfect use of the word dominating.
It is. So, this is like, they already thought that they were going to get massacred. Now they're going to get extra massacred. So, this is the point of no return. Rhys is telling her, if you can get across the battlefield in time to stop the army, then do it. But when there are none of us left, I want you to run. I don't care what it costs. You run, get away, and fight another day. The fuck? You think she'd actually do that shit?
Seriously? Now?
Why on earth would you think she'd do that? I understand what he's saying, the idea of at least there being somebody left afterwards, but imagine that person being left afterwards with no one else.
Right.
They wouldn't want to survive like that.
No.
And especially not her.
No.
I literally wrote in my notes, no goodbyes, you fuck. Like, LOL. So with that being said, don't give a fuck. Azriel is now in charge of the northern flank of Illyrians, and Cass is on the southern flank, and so Azriel goes and flies off, not giving Rhys a chance to reconsider. So with the armada closing in on them, it was the last moments I would see them. I wouldn't run. Dude, I was so happy. Dude, this made me so happy. And crazed all at the same time. It's surprise after surprise. It's so epic. So Cassian's about to leave, but then we hear another set of horns. This time,
what is it with all the horns?
They just want to make it, it's a war battle scene, it's fantasy, they want to make it epic. I can understand. Baron, I don't give a fuck about. But these guys deserve a horn.
Yeah.
So Rhys immediately takes Feyre in his arms up into the sky, which automatically you can tell this is different than the Hybern one. Then Cassian takes Nesta, almost seemingly like she demanded to also be up in the sky next to them.
She's like, up, now, up.
Well, you know she doesn't like him holding her. So at this point, she doesn't give a fuck. Oh my my god, who is it that appears?
Someone completely unexpected. At first I thought it was Lucian.
I did it first. It's Miriam and Draken. They brought them up so much. I was like, when are they gonna come and play? And even with all that foreshadowing being said, I still was surprised by this.
Mm-hmm.
A happy but unexpected surprise.
Very unexpected.
I just love this interaction between Draken, and so Draken's the one that flies up to meet them with a very spicy accent.
Spicy.
He's like, you could have asked for aid, you know. We did. We looked for you everywhere.
It's like, hey, why didn't you ask for help? It's like, who would we have asked?
He's like, instead of hearing it through the rumor mill, bro, we tried. So we finally find out why they couldn't make contact. Apparently they put up too good of a glamour outside of their city of Kratea, and so it kept out friends and foes.
That's a pretty damn powerful glamour.
Yeah, more powerful, like that Reese couldn't even detect it. That's well wild to me.
Yeah.
Again, that is the place where the cauldron item is, though. Maybe that had something to do with it.
That's true. It amplified it.
The idea. So they were on Kratea the whole time. That island. Okay, sure. The only reason they came, or they got here in time, was because they heard that Jurian was hunting for Miriam. And I gotta give Jurian that. He came in clutch with that. Because, you know, he was trying to find where they were at. And even when Jurian and Reese ended up talking about it, and he said, I couldn't find her, he made damn sure that they knew. Like, I loved that, like, boy. Because obviously, of course they would come for him.
Yeah.
So, honestly, it worked.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, maybe they need to clarify that Jurian's actually a good guy before they get down there.
He was looking for them. Apparently not to kill, though.
Hey, by the way, that whole thing was a sham. He's okay. He's cool.
Also, the fact that they heard that Jurian was looking for Miriam, and they brought a whole fucking army.
It's like, oh shit. Well, especially if he's working with Hybrid, they thought.
That's true.
I love how he's just like, shall we assist or just flap here, talking? This will also make me probably tear up. This was the big fucking reveal. Yeah, Miriam and Draken were surprising, but this full on shocked me. So Reese is like, okay, are all those boats you? What? He's like, oh no. I mean, Miriam's down there with our soldiers, but most of that came for you. And they're like, what? So Nesta's the one that demands that. What? Almost like she knew, but didn't really want to say it out loud. We met up with them on the flight here. Some of them crossing the channel decided to join ranks. It's why we're a little late. I love the idea of Draken just being so fucking confused by Vasa. I can't even begin to explain the story that they told me. Queen Vasa is leading the charge, and like Feyre starts to fucking tear up because she's, oh my god, it's Lucian. Well, first of all, no, it wasn't, but he helped. He helped for sure.
He found them.
But I love how it's the suspense that they think it's Lucian. But okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I want to say we said this a lot during this episode, but for this specifically, I want to see Lucian's journey through. I want to see that whole fucking thing play out. Want a little novella, something of Lucian's journey over there, and how he met up with all of them, and how this fucking happened. Because this is wild. So apparently Lucian did not rescue Vasa. Someone else already did. Lucian met up with them and then told them where to go, so at least he helped them point them in the right direction. The pushy Prithian males. Who found Vasa? Nesta said with that flat tone, as if she already knew. There's a bunch of human sails. Like, these are just all human soldiers. I just want to say, can I say the whole thing? I want to say this whole quote, because this is epic. And I love the way Draken says it. He calls himself the Prince of Merchants. Apparently, he discovered the human queens were traitors months ago, and has been gathering an independent human army to face Hybern ever since. He managed to find Queen Vasa, and together they rallied their army. He told me that he's got 3 daughters who live here, and that he failed them for many years, but he would not fail them this time. Girl, the idea, remember all the way back into the first book, they kept bringing up, and like SJM kept putting in nuggets of like, oh my god, they called our dad the Prince of Merchants or whatever, to remind us over and over again of that name.
And then in the second book, you know, he was or end of the first, you know, he was like checking all of her, her gems, you know, being the merchant. And then the second book, we just hear him going. Then in the second book, you know, when they went back to the human realm, he was gone he was already gone for a month at that point, just to do some trades.
It was suspicious, but it was so well put in terms of SJM making it seem like the dad didn't give 2 shits about them, to then him being gone for the whole book and none of us really caring. caring or really questioning it. I mean, I definitely questioned it, but also it wasn't at the forefront of my mind.
Right.
So the idea that this whole entire time, the whole last book even, that he was doing all this, gathering this human independent army against the queens and finding Vasa and freeing her. Again, if you want more of that, we definitely talk about this in our spoiler episodes. So, because we talk about why we think the dad, like how that all happened in our spoiler episodes. So if you want to go back and listen to those, please go ahead and do so. The idea that fucking Papa Archeron could have, remember, because the death god owns the lake. How the fuck did he barter for Queen Vasa? Long story short, we don't know how. We guess and speculate. But again, if you want to go into further deep dives on that, we have spoiler episodes for that reason.
Yes.
The epicness of just, they pulled together a beast of a host and the quote, the Feyre, the Elaine, and leading the charge with their father at the helm, the Nesta. End of episode. Holy fuck.
Wow, that is epic.
That is like literally the part one of a finale of like a Game of Thrones episode, for sure. This idea.
That's also like, if this were live theater as well, that would 100% where they ended the first act.
Oh yeah.
Like that kind of cut.
The epicness of them thinking that their father was just a downright coward, when actually in all the time he knew that he was going to try to save them. Oh, dude, it made me tear up the first time when, like Draken said, he has 3 daughters who live here and he would not fail them this time.
Draken has no idea who those 3 daughters are.
He's talking to 2 of them. It's so, oh my god, I hate to end it there for the audience in terms of at least the deep dive portion, but
that's incredible.
It's such an epic moment, so welcome to the part 1 finale.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to our second section where we talk about the graphic audio, which, just to start us off, honestly, the music throughout this whole fucking section, some of my favorite parts. I mean, obviously, well, it's wonderful, but like the music was like drew my attention so much through this. So let us dive into it. Take it away.
Tell me about it, dude. I mean, I brought up the music so many times, but it's also like just overall talking about the like fantasy-esque drum war music.
Yeah.
I really dig that a lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna have some fun picking the music after.
It also just had like a cool tone. The tonal shift. Whoever did the sound design had like really good feeling shifts.
They had fun with it, honestly.
Yeah, it was really good. So to chapter 66 at the top, back at the top where Feyre is getting ready in the morning and thinking about all this stuff. I like the creepy, tense music at the start because it was such a transition from the very nice, homely-esque, warm music with sisters falling in bed together. And then this just, this, shit's about to go down sort of music.
Yeah.
I love the description music of the winter court camp was really cute because it was very, I mean, it definitely gave wintry vibes and very fantastical, cute animals. Like you heard the giants lumbering by. It set it up really nicely.
It did, yeah.
Also, it was like such a small thing, but especially when Moore is leading Feyre off into the woods, just hearing the grass steps, like it sounds stupid, but it's almost like I could sense that they were moving somewhere discreet without really saying it because of the steps.
It kind of created like an aura.
An aura of, oh, we're about to talk about something.
Something very serious that no one else can hear.
Right. So that was like a small thing, but I liked the grass crunching steps. It was cute. I will say, Amanda, Oscar performance. I know I talk about the guys a lot, but I do want to give the women their due when they deserve it, because they deserve it all the time.
Yeah.
Moore's monologue was so good because it started out so, as an actor, it started out so, oh my god, I'm saying this for the first time. And it gave me such a different viewpoint on what she's saying. Like, it's almost like, I don't love Azriel. Like, almost like her saying it out loud. We were talking about it when we were talking about Deep Dive. It made me think that she never either vocalized it out loud and or the first time ever saying it.
It felt like, with the way that Amanda said it, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
And then once she said it, it's like, okay, it's out there, for Feyre to take however she wants it, and it's off my shoulders.
Well, and hearing the crying tone as well when she was talking about, like, and just going through it in terms of her talking about how because she can never love Azriel that way, or even when she starts talking about Andromache, like Jesus Christ, especially I don't know, tying when she talked about how Kier would tie her to the marriage bed for Eris, the rawness in her voice was really good.
A level of fear crept into her voice.
Yeah, but also a level of defiance. It was very layered, which I really liked. And of course, hearing more talk about Andromache, especially at the top, was very cute because she's like, oh my god, it was like my first love, and we could be ourselves in the war camp, and then just turned sad as hell when she talked about her dying.
Yeah.
And so just overall was really good, especially you could hear the tears. I mean, Amanda might have been crying. I mean, I don't know, but I could definitely hear tears. So, and then I love, moving on, I love the fantasy music with Amren when they're talking about how nobody was allowed in. It just gave off Amren music. There's not really a good way to explain it. It's like this, okay, don't come near me.
I can, very much. Like, leave me alone, fuckers.
Yeah, it's like, okay, transition. We need to go do this thing, but also, I don't know what it is about the guys, like Helian's voice, Callius, Tarquin, all the High Lords, Cassian, Rhys, especially Helian, Jesus Christ. With him being that one voice actor from Fourth Wing, I'm just like, like when you talk about somebody who talks about something passionate with somebody and how like hot, them talking passionately about war stuff, even though it's really bad news, is very loving and hot to me.
So, quick little side tangent. You know, in any of like those animated shows where they have a crush, the main character or someone has a crush, and they look at their crush, and suddenly their crush is talking super slow and super dramatically, while wind flows in their hair and sparkles are everywhere. Of like, I will die on this battlefield. That kind of thing. Like, that's totally what I could see if you were in a movie standing here watching this. You with their characters of like, you just hear their voices of just the dramatic slowness.
Just in my fantasy, they'd be shirtless. Okay.
Okay. That's valid.
That has nothing to do with audio. That's just all visual, baby. Love different mediums. The next like big thing that really got me, I mean, again, I love Natalie with all my being, but I love the Nesta quote so much. It's so dark and deep. She has such a deep voice for a woman, and it's a deep voice, but not manly.
Right.
It's very dark, feminine. And dude, if I was into women, girl, oh yeah, you're nodding your head for sure. She is prime woman material. I love the quote of her saying, "We insulted him, me and my sisters."
Yes.
Because she doesn't speak up a lot in group settings, but when she does, everybody looks to her like, she's a queen.
Yes, which has been mentioned before.
Also, anytime Rhys and Cassian speak with the tone that they have in terms of talking to the others, especially when Rhys is like, what kind of world are we going to be? There's a level of passion in his voice that I'm just like, Anthony. Okay.
Anthony.
And then, of course, Cassian saying the line of, it'd be a noble death to die people who can't defend themselves. Nesta's just like, please don't say that.
Please don't say that to me.
I mean, again, I feel like, especially in these war type scenes, everybody's voice acting is already so great, but it just is so good in these epic scenes, especially when they're all together. This is what the graphic audio was made for having an amalgamation of voices all at the same time.
Yes.
And it's really cool to hear. I love the idea of the tent flaps opening and then Amren, we need to get to the cauldron, girl. All of us. God. Nora's voice is so good for Amren.
That was actually a good impression. Good job.
I know. I think I do a good Amren and I do a good Natalie.
Yeah, that's true.
Nesta. I do a good Nesta.
A good Nora and Natalie.
God, the two that you think I'm characters that most like.
It fits.
It does. So they were epic. Then moving on to chapter 67 with them about to go into the human lands. I didn't really know how to describe it, but the music during the rescue of the human scene, there's bells tolling during it. And it almost reminded me of, in those evacuation scenarios in a fantasy realm where they're, ringing the bell to get people to go outside and run.
Yeah.
That's totally what it reminded me of, but not in like a too overtly panicky way. Just more kind of these bells tolling in the background, kind of just insistent.
Yeah. I know what you're
I thought that was cool as hell. On top of Melody's narration and her somber tone when talking about the humans and taking them and whatnot. And especially, again, I'm gonna Melody Muse, you're lovely.
A queen.
A queen for sure. A highlight.
Yes.
The idea of her when she is narrating when Rhysand's asleep next to Feyre, I love the progression of it going from like this very sad mourning to, oh fuck no. I am going to do something about this and I'm going to do it now.
Yeah. With
whatever strength she has. And I love that before Melody even narrates, like, because again, for readers who have read the book before, we know where she's going.
Yes.
But I could imagine if you were listening to this the first time and you'd never read the book before and you're just listening to the audio, this cool visual movie-like moment of all of a sudden she's teleporting to where? And then you just hear this echo on the steps.
That was a cool transition.
Before she even narrates. And then hearing the surreal, the memory of the surreal. God. Anytime there's a memory voice, I just get teary-eyed. And especially with that one.
Yeah.
It's like, baby, only you decide what breaks you, curse breaker.
Yeah. Whenever graphic audio does memory sequence in a way, it's always well done, even though it's literally like a couple sentences at most. And it really makes you remember it. Of like, oh, okay, the surreal. We're just hearing the surreal.
Well, and obviously, like, they're taking the audio from previous, like, redoing it. But I think that's the point of it being the memory. I mean, that's the point of the graphic. Like, it's to hear the memory, because, like, when you're reading it or listening to a normal audiobook, there's not the nostalgia of hearing that again. That's why the There You Are, I've Been Looking For You was also so good when listening to the graphic for the first time. Because every time it would be the same, same sound bite from when Anthony said it the first time. And that's what made it so, because again, it's very much like it would be in a show or if we were listening to it for real, which is what makes it so cool.
Yes.
So then, of course, the top of chapter 68, the music and ambiance of like the snow and moonlight, the mirror room was cool because it sounded very empty. And I've told you this before and you agree with me. The emptiness sound of the graphic audio is very cool.
Yes, it is.
Because there's usually always something going on in the background or there's dialogue of some sort. So when it gets very quiet, it's very striking.
It's obvious.
Oh, the creepiness of walking up to the mirror and then hearing the creature, I was like, totally made me visualize it.
Yeah.
I think you could even hear the swish of the tail when it talked about that. Like, even that specific.
Yeah, everything coming together, graphic audio typically does to make you see the full picture.
I will tell you, as a graphic audio connoisseur, I think the ACOWAR books were the best directed graphic audios. All around. I'm talking audio, I'm talking music, voice actor wise. I'm not saying that I don't like the other graphic audios.
Right.
But I will say this one was probably the most perfectly done.
High praise.
I haven't really seen another one do it as well as this one. Crescent City is pretty close to perfect. I think it's pretty close up there. But again, that's for the future. But then, of course, at the end of that chapter, the bone carver is always such a lovely favorite to bring up. I kind of liked how this time, though, like, he was less creepy and more stunned.
You actually did it?
It's almost like at first he started out, he would normally be like, oh, no escort this time. And then all of a sudden, oh, you did it.
Oh, shit. And you're still functioning? Wow.
It was different tone this time, and I liked the subtle shift. I appreciate that as an actress.
Yes.
Well, it's easy for me to dissect this shit because I'm like, oh, character moment. Oh, I see where someone did this and someone did that and whatever.
Yeah.
And again, you focus on the music and the audio, but
I can also appreciate and hear subtle shifts in their vocal technique.
And that's also because we're singers too.
Yeah, that's true.
So then, of course, for chapter 69, at the very top, God, it's just dead silent. At the very top, when talking about dawn, it's like dawn broke over the horizon. The human lands were trashed. There's not really much music. I don't really think there's any. I think it's just kind of this very somber tone. And I loved that because it was kind of like the last ditch effort of Hybern before the final battle to just decimate everything.
Yeah.
And for your benefit, gotta give it to Sean. The truth teller moment was hot as shit. Dude, she can't even talk. She's literally just having her thumbs up and like spasming.
Oh, my God, I'm whipped for Azrael.
Dude, for sure. Own it. I do.
I love Sean's voice.
He is such a good Azrael.
He's just a good voice.
At first I thought like his voice wasn't what I pictured for Azrael, but then as soon as I like heard it, I was like, oh no, this is perfect. Why did I even question this for a second?
I mean, recalling back, when we first met him, I remember we even mentioned that I was surprised by his voice because I wasn't really expecting it. But then literally a couple hours later, even shorter than that, I'm just like, oh, no, that's Azrael.
Yeah. I guess I think we were thinking rough like Cassian would have been, but no, it doesn't fit
like
him at all.
A deeper voice, but Sean's voice can be deep, but it's not like John deep.
I told this to Anthony recently, I think, when I texted him, or like we've been doing his reels on TikTok, and I will say, I did tell him, like, they are all in my head canon now. If I ever think of Cassian Azrael's voice, it's them two.
Right.
It's Sean and John, for sure.
Sean and John.
I think it was the idea of just Azrael handing Elaine Truth Teller and just being like, it has not failed me yet. And it says it's magic, okay. I'll take it. God, I'm just thinking about back to our like dick joke is all I have to say.
Yeah. The magic strikes true. It hasn't failed him once.
Never in the bedroom, Sean. Never in the bedroom. Though, to give them respectfully. I say that respectfully.
Yes, very.
We say that in all good fun.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they do this. This is literally their job. They're supposed to make the girls squeal, bro. Like, that's what their job
we're
is.
not sexualizing them.
No,
Just
we're
how
not.
they're acting.
No, but like, also, but that's just also Azrael as a character.
Secretly
anyway.
sexual?
Continuing on, I told this to Anthony when we had him on for our interview, so if you want to go back to the episode, you can, because it was part of the spoiler section. This monologue, I praised him on so hard, and you hadn't gotten here yet, so you didn't know really what I mean, you knew what I was talking about because you knew the monologue, but I love how it starts out so strong and confident, and then it gets soft. Like, he doesn't start out soft. It's very, I'm proud, what was it? Oh, that he wished everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
It totally sounded so leader-esque. And then when he speaks to each person individually, then it gets softer. And of course, with him throwing a little bit of comedy in there, the inflection of, because when he talks about each one, it's kind of like awkward. If I hadn't met my cousin, if I hadn't met a Shadow Sing, and then with Amren's, it turns into, if I hadn't met a Fire Drake who blah blah blah, and so it just turned comedy.
Yeah.
And he influxed that in his voice, and also hearing everybody laugh, that was cute because you could hear all the voice actors laugh.
Even if it was like just soft chuckles or something, it's like this is good, a real pep talk, but also that can make them laugh.
Again, such a movie-esque moment. And then, gods, the 500-year quote. Oh my god, it gets me every time.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say that one when we were on, but also I could have just had him say a bunch of quotes and then we would have been there for hours.
Right.
So
just have him read the whole books for you.
Yeah. It got me every time because of how raw and romantic it was. Because how he could barely even say it. Just like, I would have waited 500 years for you.
I think personally for me, it was different. Obviously reading it was very cute and I loved it, but hearing it is just on a whole different level.
Yeah. It's so much more deep. Yeah. Obviously it's a romantic saying, but it's also very passionate.
And very raw.
Not in a sexual way, just a very passionate, romantic, like, I love you soul deep. Everything.
Very, very raw. It came from his soul to her soul.
So that was good. It was great. I loved that whole thing. I mean, I love when Anthony speaks in general, but that just hit hard. I loved when they finally got to the plane and the battlefield. I loved the trumpet drum music. Totally gave it war vibes. Like, you know, the drums readying for battle, the trumpets.
Yeah. This isn't like a direct correlation, or maybe not even a direct similarity, but the kind of music that played kind of reminded me of that older movie, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Oh my god. Yes.
Like just preparing to enter battle, and it starts off slow and then builds up, and
No, I love that. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I said that.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. I love how my thoughts in these graphic audio, my fucking emotions are all over the place when reading these and listening to these. That's SJM's writing, but also the graphic audio nation. I love the idea of getting ready for war. Then as soon as the boys start talking about like war shit, when they're like, well, we'll only last, an hour and blah, blah, blah. And you hear them talk. And I hear Cassian talk for more than 5 lines. I'm like just enthralled.
It's like, I'll follow you into battle.
John's voice is so mesmerizing to me.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Like,
it's very soothing. I mean, obviously you're singing it as like super hot, which can't deny it is super hot. And of course, just because I'm more witch for Azrael, I see John's voice more as matching with Cassian in the sense of brotherly best friend kind of vibe.
He does have a very soothing voice. I mean, all these boys have voices you could spend hours listening to and you'd be fine. But he does have a very soothing voice to me.
And I can totally see how you see it hot.
Some people might find it too sharp, but like, I actually think it's perfect. Yeah, and I also really like Henry Tamlin's like deep voice. I just like a deep resonating voice.
I know.
For sure.
I've seen like some people don't think that Henry was a good match for Tamlin, but it's like Reddit people.
Oh, they don't exist.
No, they're just like, what the frick was that? And it's just like a good voice.
I'm sorry for any Reddit people that like our videos. I just mean those people.
Definitely not all Reddit people are bad. Definitely not. It's quite amusing actually being on Reddit. But no, like those ones, I immediately left that discussion. I'm like, fuck you guys talking about. Henry's perfect.
Henry was perfect for Tamlin and he always will be. people can have their opinions, but also it's okay if it's the wrong opinion.
You can have an opinion. It's okay if it's wrong.
Right. And I think you led up to what I was thinking of, like, of the soldiers getting readying up and with the magic going to and fro. I love the slow climax of the music because it definitely ramps up to a point.
Yes.
And then it kind of stops when Feyre starts talking about the mating gift and whatever. But dude, I had legit goosebumps by the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
It was so cool because it was like the Striga coming out and then the monsters being unleashed. It was so wild. I loved it. And especially hearing for the first time on a graphic audio, I was like, this is why they broke it up into 3 parts.
Yeah.
Those poor editors. It really took them so much time on this fucking like last sequence of chapters alone.
Yeah.
To do 100%. Shit. So I understand why this was broken up into 3. So then of course chapter 70, of course the swords and the screaming before even Amryn speaks, because in the text, Amryn speaks before you hear those things. But obviously in this real life scenario, it would make sense for it to hear before that. Before she speaks. I will say about the constant horns that are going to be going on, each one of them is different. And I appreciate the sound designer for making them different and not just using the same fucking soundbite over and over again.
You want to hear what my connection is, my referencing is for this?
What?
It just reminds me of the goat horns from Minecraft. Oh, there's different ones.
Oh my god. You're not wrong though. You're not wrong.
Obviously they didn't sound like goat horns or whatever. They actually were horns. But yes, basically to say, I agree with you. They were different, but every time I heard a horn, it's just like, really? Another? I know it's in the book, but like another?
Again, I have to remember for some people listening to the graphic audio was their first time ever. So I'm also trying to see it from the perspective of somebody never reading the book before.
Yeah.
I could imagine how epic that would be.
Yeah.
Just hear constant horn and be like, who's that?
Who's next?
I will say, I don't know if I think this is a popular book problem, but especially when you have the book in your hands, there's a level of like, kind of want to read ahead before like, so imagine like, say, reading, I hear a horn and then kind of skimming to see like names and stuff. I've done that before, for sure. But with the graphic, especially if you are listening to it for the first time, you don't know.
Right. You can't skip ahead like that, at least not easily.
Or you don't have a text to look off of, so. I know you're gonna hate me, but I just love Eris popping in out of nowhere, winnowing in, and just being like, loving his father getting fucking demolished by Tamlin.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel bad for the guy who does Eris's voice actor, because in some of the other graphic audios, he's definitely, in the most recent one I listened to, he was like the creepy stalker dude.
Oh.
Or not stalker, but like, borderline assaulty guy, like teetering. And I feel bad that I feel like his voice is kind of in that villainy-esque tone.
Yeah.
But I will say to that voice actor, because we cannot really find you on the cast list, because graphic audio needs to fix their cast list.
Yeah. Or if you're listening to this, reach out and tell us who you are.
Also, his villain voice is hot as fuck. Okay, I don't like Eris, but his voice is...
but he does good.
His voice is the kind of, like, what I think of is, one night.
Okay.
Like, in a fuck, marry, kill scenario, he'd definitely be the fuck for a night.
Okay,
like, that's what his voice gives off to me.
You want some of that fire?
Oh my god, I hate you. Ever since that freaking Brennan and Dagnan thing. Giving you the fire. God, that was a Camp Rock reference. We need to move on. So, I love then when Feyre looks back to Rhys. Oh my god, it was such a textbook movie moment of everything in the background quieting. And then the love music coming into play as they're about to... Oh, it was beautiful. It was so cliche and I loved it.
It fit though. Like you said in the main section, the main deep dive, it's good to have some cliches here and there. And we hadn't really had a romantic moment, it felt like, for a while.
We haven't had romance since like I wouldn't even consider that romance, but the war camp, the injured and dying, I wouldn't even call that really romance, but sure.
I was going to say the same thing. We haven't had romance since the moaning over the sounds of the injured and dying. We'll never get over that. God, there is so much references in this book that normal ACOWAR fans will just bring up. We do all the time. Yeah.
Remember when Rhys moaned over the injured and dying?
In random conversation.
Girl, I think honestly, this is my favorite part of maybe the whole book. This specific moment in particular, and I bring it up constantly. Natalie taps to you. Yeah. This moment of Nesta yelling for Cassian was so perfect. This level, so she's dry heaving, right? And you can hear her doing that. But all of a sudden, she's just yelling for Cassian. And she does it more times than the book says. How do I put this into words? I like how each time she said it, it almost sounded different. I feel like the first one burst out of her, but then like at some point, she's like, Cassian, like it's almost pleading in a very, like, get out of Dodge. Like you can hear it back behind the voice.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was like she was trying, maybe not consciously, but she was trying all the ways that she could to get him there to her, to get him away from that. Honestly, it hurt my heart hearing Natalie scream like that.
Oh, it was, yeah. Hearing anybody scream in pain, but also especially hearing Nesta. It's definitely wild.
Yeah.
I also loved the sound of the cauldron because like you could feel the earth rumbling, right? Because it talked about that. But then also this idea, not that it didn't have like a cliche sound of like a laser beam, but this very epic sound of the magic. And then there just being this total wipeout. It was textbook. I was perfectly done. This idea of this kind of frozen moment before it hits. And then all of a sudden, bow, and then ash. And then
ash.
And then at the end there was a silence and it was ringing.
Yes, that was very well done. Similar to the after effects of an explosion.
It was really well done. And then of course, I mean, we talked about in our deep dive, but especially with Liesl bringing about Striga and the sisterly cry. Ooh.
That also hurt my heart. I mean, of course, because I knew what was happening, but
They also timed it perfectly. I gotta give them props on that. Like you could hear the cauldron is like just fired, but then you hear Striga like almost like beat for beat after that. Almost like oh shit, like her crying out, which then made sense for why you said it was like a late cry, like a too late, because it was after it went off.
Yeah.
And of course the music behind the Carver's death.
So
the
sad.
Idea, oh god, another beloved monster character dying. What is it, Sarah?
No.
Does this mean that nobody of the actual main characters are gonna die? Because I hope that's the case.
Don't kill off all our monster friends, though.
Yeah, please don't. And then the end, the chapter 71. Of course, the top of the chapter is just silence. No, the music was silent, and silence was so cool. Because, like, you couldn't hear the swords anymore. Like, something cool that the graphic does that when it's the battle scene, the swords and, like, the screams are kind of going on in the background, kind of throughout the whole thing. But then at that point, like, it seemed like there was just this stunned silence.
Sometimes silence can speak louder than words, or music, or other background noises. Sometimes the silence is the most powerful.
That's why when anybody in a choir, anybody who's in orchestra, and anybody who's been in a group, an ensemble, will tell you that the moments where you have to like breathe together or make sure that you cut off at the right time is so, it's to make it so clean like this.
Yeah.
It makes it so much more impactful than if there wasn't a clean cutoff. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
Doug would be so proud of us.
So proud.
Talking about clean cutoffs.
Clean cutoffs. Look at the director.
That was our choir director, by the way, for people that obviously nobody knows because we've never really brought him up. Yeah. But choir director.
Yes.
Oh, God. The moment of Cassian and Nesta was so cute. Like the small moment. Because he's like, he is like looking at Nesta like, what is it? What can I do? Like,
I've already lost all these men. What can I do now?
I know. And then, Nesta just like, it's gone silent again. And it's over. And, whoo, boy. Sean? Asriel, we love a good confident bad boy. He's like, no, I'm going on the front lines. I don't care if I have to carry it on my damn back. Like, you go off.
Have fun.
God, I think that was probably the hottest he sounded. I wouldn't say it's the hottest he's ever sounded, but
it was a hot moment for sure.
Yes. What would you say is the hottest he's ever sounded?
I don't think we have time for me to go through all of those.
Oh, okay. I thought the Nefel philosophy.
That was a hot moment, mostly because he was just talking and talking and talking. So I got to hear a lot of his voice, but no, for me to actually like think about it and pick a singular moment of hotness, that would take too long. We'd be here all night.
Yeah. And then again, there's another horn that sounds, which is, it's more ominous, this one. Like, she made it so much more clearer that this one was bad than the previous one. Like, the previous one was an ally, this one was not.
Yeah.
And I love the climactic music as the armada reaches the shore. Ooh, it's like, almost like a Jaws level version of, oh my god, they're coming closer. Yes. I know you were going to continue.
Just the Jaws theme on a horn.
Oh, ew. So then, that being said, the change in music and the change in the tone of the horn for when Draken and Miriam appear is so cool. Like, there's so much hopeful music behind when they appear.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, for anybody, again, isn't not necessarily reading it, but listening, you could totally tell it's like, oh, an ally's coming.
Yeah.
Even the emotional shift was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, Draken's accent, at first I couldn't fucking pick up on if it was, is he trying to be Spanish? What accent was that? Because he sounded like a Spaniard.
No, kind of.
He calls himself the Prince of Merchants. He told me he's got 3 daughters who live here, and that he failed them for many years, but he would not fail them this time.
That sounds more Russian.
I know. I mean, I feel like I went more Russian with that than Spaniard. Okay.
Maybe Ukrainian. Swedish.
He sounded like a Latin lover for sure. Did you get that vibe?
Yes and no. I don't know exactly how to describe what his accent was.
If any of you can tell us what his accent was, we don't know.
I'm gonna have to listen back to it.
I feel like I could pick up on it if I listened to it more, for sure.
Yeah, so you wouldn't go Russian. He's a Latin lover who's descended from Russians.
Jesus. My accent work is trash. I'm really good at, like, certain accents, but Russian is not one of them.
My accent is constantly shifting whenever I try another accent.
I'm good at Jamaican, weirdly enough. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. But me being white trying to do a Jamaican accent probably wouldn't bode well. But I love the idea of Draken being so confused by Vasa. You can even hear it in the dialogue. He's just like, I feel like you could even hear a head scratch at that point. Like, he's just like, yeah, you wouldn't even believe what they told me. Like the story that they said.
He's like, yeah, I'm not sure I believe it myself.
It's like a firebird? What? I don't really know what's going on. And then, of course, again, Draken's voice actor, I'm not even gonna lie, these side characters even make me fucking tear up. The way he delivered the Prince of Merchants line with them, their father, and like saying that he had 3 daughters who lived here and that he wouldn't fail them again, totally made me tear up for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, it was wild. It was, oh god, it was just and again, that's the first time we've ever heard that voice actor, so I was like, why is this guy making me cry?
Right, because it's, very good text, obviously, but the way he delivered it was with a hint of awe, a little bit. It was like, he delivered it with a hint of awe. Definitely the confusion was still coming through, but it was also just like, this is what happened. I'm not really sure.
It made it so much more epic, and I really liked that.
Yes, definitely.
Of course, it ended there, and then it was like, and with like leading the charge, the Nesta, with our father at the helm, and I was like, oh my god. So
the music took me on a roller coaster ride. I like, despite Natalie Nesta's screaming, I actually kind of enjoyed that moment of just like, it was so well done.
Yeah, no, I think every time we talk about the graphic audio, it just gets better and better, and it's never disappointed me once for ACOWAR, so I would really, again, highly recommend you read it, or listen to it. Again, I wouldn't recommend it on a first reread, but you know what? You do you. If you want to listen to it, and that's how you're going to get through it, by all means. But yeah, so that's the end of our complete graphic audio / deep dive. I'm so happy. This is, God, it's so surreal. It's our first part of the finale. We're 1 episode away from the end of the book itself.
It's a big finale.
Yeah, so obviously this episode's going to be a little longer, and the last episode will be longer, specifically because at the end of the book, we will try to not dilly-dally as much, try to get through it as much. But also, we're entertaining, so we might as well just like have laughs and fun along the way. That's how we book talk anyway.
Yeah.
So again, if you really appreciate us and you appreciate how our style is, please comment, share, subscribe to wherever you're watching this. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm just reminding everybody where they are. Please follow our Patreon account. You can follow it for free, or you can follow it for the 2 tiers, High Fae at $3 a month, and the Inner Circle at $5 a month, with early access and video access to videos and access to notes and more goodies there for sure. And follow the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, wherever you use your platforms mostly. And please comment. We do really like comments and everything. So we would really appreciate that, to tell us if you like this style of deep dive and book club that we're doing.
And definitely, if you can anyway, because we like new friends, come join our Discord. You can join our Patreon as a free member, and then you will automatically get the link for that. Or if you don't want to do that, you can message us and we can send you the link completely free. Just a place for us to chat. talk about theories and the books and all that, and just get to know people. So please come join us.
We're trying to bolster our Discord up so it can be a community for everybody. So please hop on if you really want to. Well, please hop on to the Patreon as a free member, and I'll send you the Discord link via email, because apparently the Discord link is not working on the Patreon. That's great.
Sometimes it's a little iffy, but everyone deals with technical difficulties.
So I'll have to fix that. But yes, besides that, I mean, next episode's it, guys. That's the part 2 finale, and then we will have the mom's episode and then the dad's episode. It's 3 episodes away from the end of the season. It's crazy. So thank you all for watching and listening this far, and also this far into our seasons if you followed us since the beginning. So we really appreciate you and we love you. So we hope you guys stay happy and healthy, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.